Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have The Electric Rabbit. So, Ickerfall is done, and we are now going into October. We have some new stories. This one is from the Cold Relic stories that we have been covering. So like Liz 4 and Laser Tag and Kittyland. So we're doing the next installment, which is The Electric Rabbit. And it's by Our Hero is the only name we really have for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nair.
Yeah, Nair. I go by Our Hero because it's literally like in the little blurb of like who's the author is for this one.
Maybe his name is R period space Hero. His
Maybe.
first name is abbreviated to R. And it's
Richard Hero.
Dick Hero.
Dick Hero. Anyway, so let's go into the rundown for this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to preface this. I wrote this simple and sweet. So like this is a long story to get through. It clocks in at about 28 pages, and there's a lot of details in it. So I just kind of skimmed through as much skimmed it as much as I could for the rundown. So if you would like to read the story in full, check out the Cold Relics website. We'll have a link in the description below. But without further ado, I will do my very short rundown. And I do in quotes, short rundown. So by late 2014, our heroes search for Kittyland and its information detailing it. Yes.
Sorry, I'm laughing. The start of your rundown is literally the first 3 words of
Yes, I
the
know.
actual story. I thought you were just going to start reading it.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. I
Okay,
took that one detail. And that was it. Like that's like all right. Let's get because it's by late 2014.
Yes, I understand. It was just funny to see.
Okay. So by late 2014, our heroes' search for Kittyland info was slowing. However, that weird kid Tyler had been making progress of sorts by finding another piece of strange Cold War tech. Apparently, this one was a video game. So, in November of that year, this whole a message from Tyler sent our hero to a man in Buffalo, New York. Boris, not his real name, was a cool Russian guy who tinkered with obscure electronics, and with the help of a close-knit online community, had found this prototype VCR-esque video game where you directed a rabbit through a post-human landscape, solving obstacles and reaching his family. You did this using a camera interface, speaking directions in Russian to the rabbit, it would reply as such and would kind of interact with those commands. The tech was, I do in quotes again, VCR and VHS type tech, but it seemed far more advanced and like inside the actual chassis. And unfortunately, they couldn't get into the chassis to see what was actually working and what was causing this weird like tech to work. Because as soon as you opened up the case, it would light on fire, being exposed to oxygen.
As soon as you open up the case for the game, not the system.
Yeah, yes, the game, yeah. The whole system itself, Boris and the community had to kind of build from scratch using half a manual they found in like a locker somewhere on some distant site. So during night 1, they played a perfect game where Fun Bun, the rabbit, doesn't get hurt or die and makes it home safely and happy. During night 2, Hero is shown the complex and grim ways the game harms and kills the rabbit for failures. The game was complex in the fact that if Fun Bun is immobilized from his injuries, or even just plain dead from a failure, animations for decomposition of his body begin to occur if left long enough. Like it actually has a progression like thing going on where like if you leave the game running for a few hours, you actually see like the body decompose or be like eaten by ants and stuff like that. This is expanded further in night 3, or rather morning 3, when Hiro returns down to the basement after like having a night's sleep to see that the skeleton of Fun Bun that they after they left the game going overnight. Night 3 also reveals a strange occurrence when the game is switched to the English version. Apparently, the game has a Russian version that's like the default, but you can switch it to English. However, the machine in the game begin emitting a buzz, and nearby electrical systems begin fluctuating as a result. Like there's almost like it requires more power for the English version. The English mode can't be played for more than 2 hours, as the effects of the electrical system on the effects on the electrical systems worsens, and no one in the community or Boris knows what will happen if it's left on too long. So they just to play it safe, they have kind of given themselves a limit to it. Night 4 sees Hiro playing the game over and over in the English mode, while Boris is doing other things. At a point, just seeing, or at some point, all that Hiro is really doing is just seeing how all the different ways that Fun Bun can die. Like kind of getting a little sadistic in the way that players stop caring about game characters in video games because they're just pixels, right? Like, oh, like I just want to see how this character dies because I don't care. It's not a person, not really. When he goes to turn it off, he swears he sees Fun Bun angry with him on the screen, but then shuts off the screen before like he can like analyze that anymore, and just shuts everything off and goes to bed. Night 5 is bad. A fever overtakes Hiro, and the power goes out on account of a blizzard that has struck the area. Boris has backup power, but it only helps so much. Hiro also notices that there is a strange EMF and buzzing coming off the walls in the room that he's staying in, and his fever only intensifies as he thinks this is Fun Bun's doing somehow. He eventually goes down to the fireplace in the house and starts a fire to warm himself and try to sleep easier away from all the walls and the wires. Night 6, he begins to fully lose his grip on reality. His dreams become more lucid, and Fun Bun begins stalking him like a sleep paralysis demon. Fun Bun wants revenge for all the deaths inflicted on him and chases Dream Hiro across various memories and dreams, corrupting them as they go. It's almost like a struggle for Hiro's mind. This is only halted for a moment anyway, as they reach the memories of Kittyland, which Fun Bun seems to recognize and also fear. Eventually, Boris wakes Hiro up, and as Hiro writes down or types down all his experiences here, he plans to confront Fun Bun in his dreams again, thinking he has some kind of plan against him. And then we get to night 55. No, I didn't skip like a bunch of nights in a long diatribe. It just goes from night 6 to night 55. As Boris is now typing, Hiro.
50.
Is it night 50? I thought it was night 55.
Yeah, it is 50.
Oh shit. Okay. Okay. So night 50. Boris is typing. Apparently, Hiro went into a coma as his fever reached critical levels, and the paramedics were called during night 7. Now, Boris has quarantined the machine, the game, and even Hiro's laptop, which may be infected with Fun Bun, as there's like a single like file that wasn't there before that he can't seem to open. But and it seems that Fun Bun may be capable of hopping from system to system via electrical signals, and because the laptop had Wi-Fi, that was how it was able to jump from the wires in the walls to the laptop. and possibly also because humans have an electrical current of their own. That's why how like Fun Bun is somehow in our hero and infecting him. Boris plans to dig deeper into the history of the game and its creators to try and help Hero and learn how to stop Fun Bun. We are left with more information on the history of the game and a word from the first person to experience the game, who believed that the game was more than a mere toy and could actually achieve some kind of supernatural level. And that's basically the end of the story right there. So I missed a lot of details, but again, it's a lot to kind of digest. So if you'd like to read this story, I recommend checking out the Cold Relics site. So we shall move on to everyone tolerates that grammar inquisitions at this point. So guys, I got a question first before we move on. Did anybody else use the night numbering system for like where their games or where their like notes are and stuff?
I tried, but I failed.
I started doing like 1, and then I forgot to do it from like 2, 3, and 4. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just finish reading the story because I'm low on time, and then I'll go back and do it. And then I didn't go back and do it. So no.
Okay. I did, but only because I had a little bit extra time, I think. And I was just like, and I was just basically like, it was really just me cross-referencing. Okay, what have like I took all my notes down first, and then I just like it was just me like having 2 tabs open, my notes on Google Doc and the story itself. It's like, all right, so these notes happen before night 3, but after night 1. Okay, so that's there. Like
I feel like
so that
I am slowly becoming you, and you were slowly becoming me. It's like as soon as I stop taking chapter-related notes and sectioning it all out, that's exactly when you start doing it.
Well, I think
You've
it's
done it
because
twice
like
in a row when I haven't.
I think it's because like you started like a couple of whatever we started doing that whatever like before the switch happened.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't been doing it, and then I saw that you were doing it. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I should be taking more like adequate notes here.
Maybe subconsciously, I'm like, oh, why am I even doing it? I'm the only one that does it. I guess I'll just stop doing it.
And then yeah, exactly. So you inspired me, but then I demotivated you.
Yeah, but now I'm being motivated to do it again. But
And so
through our
now
talk now, you'll be like, I don't know, should I do it? He's probably not going to do it anymore. I don't want to be the weird
No,
one.
I mean I'll still do it, but like at least until I forget or I just get bored and lazy. So let's be honest.
Which will be the next time I do it.
We'll see.
Yes.
Time will tell. Okay, so anyway, moving on to Grammar Inquisition. So I have 2 for night 1. There was a bundle of wires and converters, some caked in dust, all mashed together like an industrial accident waiting to happen. Okay, so converters is spelled wrong. It ends like in the story sentence. It's CONVERTORS. As far as I can tell, it's supposed to be CONVERTERS. So. And again, that's just it was a spelling error that I picked up from because I had this in Google Docs. So,
of course,
I will be honest about where I got how I did my grammar grammar editing.
Mm-hmm. Whether or not that is a Canadian related typo compared to American or not, who knows?
Yeah, convertor versus converter. This one I did notice myself. It was nicely made, and there was no evidence left that Tyler had been in the same room. What him being messy and proud of it. So I think you want what with him being messy and proud of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And then in night 3, I have this note. I still wanted to finish. I was past its disturbing consequences of failure and genuinely had the urge to complete it. Wait, why? Okay. I think this one I actually took a book from Gamer because I thought that it could be one sentence versus like a really short sentence at the beginning there. Like I still wanted to finish it. Period. So I think I just added a this is what I did to the sentence. I still wanted to finish it, however, comma, as I was past its disturbing consequences of failure and genuinely had the urge to complete it.
Yeah.
I think I am becoming you, gamer. I'm sorry. You're
It
infecting.
seems like it.
You've infected me.
You're welcome.
And then I have one more for in night 5. The water hero. The water hero. Wow.
With
The water
Aquaman here?
Yeah. The water heater was fuck. Sorry, the Aquaman thing got me. It's like knockoff Aquaman. It's just water hero.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay. The water heater was one of the few things still running, and Boris had gone through the house to open up all the taps, some to keep the pipes from freezing. So I figured taking a shower would be okay. So I think you need to get rid of some there, and Boris had gone through the house to open up all the taps to keep the pipes from freezing. You don't need that some there in the middle.
Yes.
And that is my grammar inquisitions. So, Mikey, without further ado, your
All
verdict.
right. So, my first grammar inquisition is in the first sentence.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm just going to pull up the story here.
By late 2014, it had been 6 years since my search for an imaginary place that left me with mental scars and a mistrust of my own memories. I feel like that should be had, because we're talking about past tense. So,
Imaginary place had left me with mental scars.
Or that had left me with mental scars. Or
Yeah.
did you just say that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it needs a had left me with. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sentence is also a little long-winded. Now that I'm looking at it,
A little bit.
it's like right at the edge, you know.
Yeah, it's teetering on the edge between like what is acceptable and what is a run-on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like one step closer to the edge, and it would probably break.
God damn it. Yeah.
Well, it would.
So my next one is a spot where I stumbled because a comma made me stumble.
Okay.
So the only thing I knew in advance was that he had an odd, one-of-a-kind game of some sort.
The hell? I think I remember. Like, I think it was a hot minute since the beginning of reading the story. So I think I may have like forgot that. But yeah, that was also I think I remember tripping over that comma as well.
Granted, when you look at it, that is how you would type it out.
It is, but like reading it, it does kind of give you a little bit of a hiccup.
How would you correct it?
Just remove the comma.
But then he had an odd one of a kind of game.
Oh, one of a kind is usually like kind of a contracted word almost, or like it's kind of done almost in one breath kind of thing. Yeah.
Like it's dashed out, yeah.
Yeah, like mother-in-law or what have you.
Or somehow say it's an odd game, so he had a one-of-a-kind odd game of some sort.
Yeah, or even you don't even need odd at that even.
Yeah,
like it could be argued that you need
kind.
Yeah, it could easily be argued that you don't even need the odd there because it's just one of a kind. Like you're sort of doubling down on descriptors there.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Like the fact that it's one of a kind is odd in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of mean the same thing to a degree.
Yeah. So my next one, the question of is it missing a stick or an SIC in brackets? because it was later in the story, and when it comes up with the SIC in brackets, he usually has fun or
Okay, so
something bunny related,
yes,
right?
I had that in my actual thoughts because I didn't know if it should go in Grammar Inquisition because
Well,
I think at a certain point it's sort of
well,
first off I wasn't quite sure why sick was there. I kind of get why he's saying fun and bun and all that kind of stuff like in place of words because it's sort of like fun bun is still infecting him like subconsciously as he's typing this on night 6. So
well, and you have to think it's also the Russian guy, basically proofreading.
yeah, that could be it. Yeah.
So, but anyway, the quote is, "But none of them appeared in the stories themselves, and none of them could be traced back to their shipper, so it wasn't understood where they came fun, and any possible start to actual research on the game stalled."
Yeah.
So, if it was supposed to be the thing where we have the fun whatever with the sick, then consistency, but otherwise it could just be from instead of fun.
Yeah, I think it's purposely done because it's done twice again too. Like in night 5, the quote is I'm just reading from my actual thoughts here for now. I didn't know if the wires were bunning again, and it's supposed to be buzzing, but again, I think it's because like he's talking, like he's sort of kind of been mimetically infected with fun bun, so now he's starting to like kind of hiccup those words there, and then he also says it. No more building up suspense and beating around the bun. Sick, like beating around the bush. But again, I think it's intentional because obviously because those 6 are there. But yeah,
example, it might not be intentional, so
it may not
they didn't put the sick.
Yeah, for fun, yeah, he did.
Not for this one.
Which
one? That I mentioned.
The one that he just read off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one. Yeah, no, that one he did miss because I was thinking of the other fun. I'm thinking of the other fun one, which is I could handle all of its other funs. Sick, but when you take away the ears of a rabbit, it just becomes an ugly rodent. Yeah, so that one I didn't actually even understand. It's like what is it? What's that word replacing?
It's not that one isn't replacing anything. The character's name is fun.
No, I could handle all of its other fun. Okay. Maybe
all the other creatures that are fun.
Why is that? Okay, then why is that one sick?
I think this other fun should be way sicker than that fun.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Like I think you're absolutely right there. I think that this sick should maybe be up there.
Yeah.
Because I actually like in my notes I was like I don't get why this one uses sick. I also don't know why like what does this mean like like. Yeah, I get it now. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the big like that might be the takeaway one here is that the sick needs to be moved to that one so that's much sicker.
It is. Be very ill.
Yes.
And my last Grammar Inquisition before the conjunction junction / hit story.
Oh God, Lord! I kind of want you to just like, and now for the conjunction junction, like just like take in like a breath, like. Sorry, continue.
Fun Bun looked pleased.
Fun Bun looked pleased?
Yeah, there's no D on the end.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I heard you say the D. I was being like, is he saying it wrong?
Yeah. Okay.
Please. Yeah, there's no.
Because as it is, Fun Bun, look, please. No, Fun Bun looked pleased. Pleased to meet you. Yeah. I can't believe I missed that one.
I got that one.
All right. Are you ready for the super law? Junction. You got
I
some
mean-
popcorn ready?
All right, everybody, strap in.
Is the
You
closest you're
there.
going to get to a reading here.
Yeah, you there. Adam, Greg, I know you're listening. Get your popcorn ready. And next stop, Conjunction Junction. Doot, doot. Proceed.
And we're just a group of youngish adults trying to focus on more important things like college debt. But the real reason we still hadn't gotten together yet was more because we had no need to. But in my absence, he had made connections. But it really should have been sooner. But for the record, in November 2014, New England saw one hell of a blizzard. But I want to be safe. It's probably best to get that out there right away. But try switching to the electronic ones or just vape. Seriously. And Tyler, you were right. It needed extra power to work. But it had software. It was solid black, and the media within was gray with no markings. It weighed about 3 pounds, a little heavier than a modern hard drive. So, a spooky game. But wait, it's also Russian, and is played on outdated and strange hardware that for some reason is a system based off of a VCR. But nope, that wasn't the route it was taking. It was either a platformer or a point and click, though he was looking to the left instead of the usual right. But this was meant to be a kid's game, apparently. So it was clearly supposed to be an innocent and fun-to-say name. It was a simple game with 5 long levels. But the third level went back to nature and was a vertical scroller in which Boris guided Bun up a tree by picking the right branches, at one point returning a lost egg to a nesting bird. It was poetic, and the whole post-human civilization, but life goes on thing was humbling. It's sad, but hopeful, and I could respect that. It's an hour long, creative, and could be made easy to pick up. But then he had to ruin things. But it was such a sweet little story. So, what would a game over be like, if not just an oops, try again? It was nicely made, and there was no evidence left that Tyler had been in the same room, what him being messy and proud of it. It was easy to access. But apparently it was also important to comfort the mouse first. It was actually morbidly funny. But that wasn't quite the end of it. And that was complete with disgusting chewing and biting sounds, because why not? It's one thing reading about this stuff in scary stories, but seeing it and knowing people put time to program it all in. But there was really only one thing left to do. But otherwise, the game looked and ran the same. Even its title was still missing on the start screen. And For the first time, I didn't need a translator for Bun's dialogue. But it was still playable and understandable enough, and I think any American child would be able to get through the story on their own. And now that I got to try saying different things to pass challenges, I found that the system was looking for certain keywords. It was like the voice actors were shouting directly into the microphone. But no one ever let the English one run for more than 3 hours. That was the record, because the electrical anomalies only grew worse, and there was worry of fire starting or other permanent damage to the house's power system. So I spent a few more hours in the afternoon playing it. But that's kind of what always happens when you see the limit, the script, and the coding behind the game. But I was only playing in bursts, no longer than 15 minutes. So I wanted to believe that the charge, or whatever we should call it, never had a chance to build up. So there was a feeling of nostalgia, mixed in with the excitement of doing this to a piece of software very few had played. But after so many hours of trying to discover something the group hadn't already, the excitement and novelty began to wear off, and it became just another strange, obscure game. And I didn't know why it took me so long, but just a few minutes before I decided to quit, I realized that I didn't even know whether the game was saving any data that could change things in a playthrough past each of my many resets. So I had probably just wasted my entire evening trying to set up variables that likely didn't exist in the first place. So I turned to the camera, waved goodbye, and then reached to turn off the system. But during my hand's journey to the VCR power button, I swear I caught something in the corner of my sight, only lasting for about a second. But I didn't think on it for long, and made myself believe that I was just seeing things. But, Boris, I'm sorry. It started when I woke up early in the morning with chills. But I didn't want to ask him to go out in the snow and drive for 3 miles to the drugstore in the worsening conditions. But just a few minutes later, everything was on again, and there was a very low rumbling that traveled through the wall. But on backup power, we would have to lose most of our heat, so the house was soon quite cold. And it was then that I heard the electrical buzzing. But the sound soon dissipated. But before it did, as I lay on my back in bed in some half-awake state, I saw a shadow take form. It was pitch black in the room. It was only then did I realize that I had seen what I had seen, but I had no idea if it was awake or asleep when it happened. It was getting stronger. But this was so much worse. It always looked threatening in a passive-aggressive way. But it could also be tall and lanky. Or take on a human-like form with its limbs crushed and contorted into unnatural and twisted arms and legs. And that bothered me. And it was my fault. And whatever Fun Bun's game did to the wiring emptied the generator. It didn't give me a full grasp of what I was dealing with, what it was for, how malicious it could be, how long it lasted, or who made it and why. But I thought I might have at least been safe with the tape out. So I told him what I had gone through. But that didn't explain how it could send information through a plain old 240-volt plug, or how that data could mess with the mind. But the finder didn't share anything about it until a second tape was discovered in the same country at a liquidation auction of another smaller media store chain. So there was a pattern. But why try to sell an unfinished game on non-existent hardware? But none of them appeared in the stores themselves, and none of them could be traced back to their shipper. So it wasn't understood where they came from, and any possible start to actual research on the game stalled. But that changed in 2009 when a single shipping label was found in an empty VHS case in Belarus that matched the cases that held the other copies. It had gotten hundreds of replies within minutes. It was filled with burned documents, but in the bottom drawer, the single manual had partially survived with only its front half reduced to ashes. But the find was the group's holy grail, and with it, its most technically adept members finally constructed a working player in 2013. It was bigger than they expected, needed 12 sticks of expensive and obsolete RAM, responsive and durable reels, and a top-of-the-line magnetic reader. But the game might also need a higher voltage line to do whatever it does to wiring. It just never got the chance to take off. It was probably just as cold, dark, and windy here as it had been at that distant warning station, and I too had a mysterious stranger looming over me. It began in Boris's garage lab, which was empty, dark, cold, and retained the ugly, cold carpet. Old carpet. It was my old house's kitchen. It had been a long time since I had last revisited that house in my dreams, and the outlets. But that was all in the past. It wasn't compressed. It wasn't the semi-mechanical canned dialogue from the game. It was like he was speaking to me as a living entity, or at least I interpreted it that way and gave him life. And then the fear came rushing back from the abyss of memory. It's impossible to describe the totality of the terror that this entity was able to instill. But you're able to separate them from reality. But try to imagine having all of your confidence destroyed and seeing things from the perspective of a child. So I did. Or at least I ran. It enjoyed the chase, and it always kept up. It was taunting me, and it could catch me at any moment, and I knew that. But I dared not slow my step or stumble. It was a living shadow, pure blackness that threatened to engulf me. It breathed in wheezy but powerful gasps that tugged at me, which threatened to pull my small self into its unseen maw. It felt like the entity was spreading infection across my mind, one piece at a time. And all the while, I only ever saw the entity's shape in the corner of my eye, or on occasion casting its shadow onto the walls. It didn't have any visible ears. It spun. It wasn't even just memories and dreams. It was also memories of dreams. It could access everything, tear through my cortex. But I have to keep writing. It's far from normal. Or maybe he had already downloaded himself straight into my head. But I don't know if I'll be in any condition to leave or continue writing. It's taking every effort just to. It's like he's fighting back. And at some point, Kittyland formed around us. And that thing behind me muttered its only word. It was in a deep, low growl, but I understood it. But it was a struggle to rouse me, and my fever had returned and spiked. But I'm going to find some way to end this interactive Candle Cove the game shit tonight. But we missed something. But we waited. But that apparently didn't keep him from dreaming about the rabbit. And I thought the entity was gone now, erased. But we were both wrong. It was his laptop, the computer that stayed near him every night, hunting for a wireless signal. And why would anyone? Its creation date marked it as having been made sometime in 1990. It might have been a mistake to tell the others in the group about this file, because after all this, screw it. It even had a serial number that we used to track it down. It existed. It explains the machine's power requirement, and it won't read the tape without it installed. It's a compact, high-speed, polyphasic alternator attached to an amplifier capable of generating a weak radio signal. It's a secret we've kept from others to keep just anyone from making more machines. But I'm confident I can convince him into a meeting. It was at nearly lethal levels. It probably did some serious damage and could explain his current health. And what lingers on my conscience is the knowledge that the human body also generates and carries electricity of its own, which comes from a beating heart. Finn.
Jesus. So now that we've done the second rundown, I will say it was pretty coherent up until Boris took over the files, and then it started to kind of losing a little bit of its cohesion. with how many ands, its, and buts and so's were in at the front of things and such. Because it was like, wait, who's talking now? Wait, the file has a serial number that they're able to track, and the file has to be installed. And then he goes to contact the guy who's or he goes to contact I guess Hero for a meeting, but he's been left scarred by the whole thing. So like by the end, it really started like kind of like deteriorating because of the sudden change in voice or in who was typing at the time.
Mhm.
Gamer, are you awake?
Absolutely fell asleep during like the last half of that. Did you finish the rundown or those grammar things?
Yeah, he's done. Gamer.
Cool. Down the start of it, the way that because there was no context, it sounded like Hero was basically a guy that was like his job is to like drive cigars to this place up north. But it's like during a blizzard, so he's like, fucking bastards, why don't they just switch to vapes?
yeah.
Because like he doesn't want to drive up there, and then immediately starts talking about cigars.
Yep. And the reason he does this,
We'll never know. But yeah, the reason that Mikey goes through and picks out all these sentences and puts them together is sometimes because they form hilarity, but the main reason is to highlight all the sentences that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts and such. There's always better words to use to start your sentences. Apparently, there's a lot in this one.
yeah, Jesus Christ. All right, now that we've lost half of you, that's
Yep.
being generous. We welcome our diehard fans.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else there, Mikey? Are you good? Are you
I'm good.
Okay. So, Gamer, what do you have left for the Grammar Inquisition?
Okay. Right when they start describing what the game looks like, of course I'd start here.
Of course.
It says, a cute and confident rabbit appeared, sitting and waiting on a solid color foreground under a flat blue sky. So when I first heard that, I thought he was sitting there facing you because it doesn't say any direction, so that's what I default to.
Mm.
But the sentence right after that, he says he's facing to the left, so whatever. It's going to Left Town, the best place.
Yes.
But the main reason I'm bringing this up is I'm assuming that the solid color means green, just because right after that it says under a flat blue sky.
Yes. Yeah.
But it doesn't say it's green.
That's true. It doesn't. It should.
Could be
So-
brown.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah. But my whole point is, as clear of a picture as that sentence gives, it doesn't give the whole picture, because the whole solid color foreground, I get it's solid color, but if it's just solid green, it gives the same thing, but more detail.
Yeah.
It's the same amount of words and everything.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Also, I know that this game, the more you play, the further you go in the game, the better the graphics seem to get. But what were the graphics when it started? It was like NES graphics or simpler, like
Well,
Atari?
there's actually a picture or a photo that accompanies this story, not on the Cold Relics website, but on the creepypasta entry.
Oh,
So it's actually right next to the title of it on creepypasta.wiki. Do you want me to post it in here?
I'm typing.
Also, yeah, I should point out this is on creepypasta.wiki. This is submitted by Digigekko, which I'm going to assume, I know what that means, makes an ass of you and me, but I'm going to assume that Digigekko is the guy who also posts on Cold Relics website.
Maybe. Also, I'm assuming you're talking about creepypasta.fandom.com.
It's yeah,
That's what it is.
Yes, but creepypasta.wiki was the original version of the site. Like fandom.
Yes, because
But,
this
yeah.
website is called the Creepypasta Wiki, but the
Yes.
URL is creepypasta.fandom.com.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I apologize. Yeah, they've
Gotcha, okay.
yeah, because in the last couple of years they got bought out or they updated or something like that, and they
Okay.
switched to fandom.
It's a shame that picture isn't there, because it's here on the creepypasta one.
Yeah. I mean, on the Cold Relics website, we get some like sketchy like doodles for the designs and stuff of that. But this one's I feel a lot stronger because it's straight up like a 2 CRT TV like style TVs. One, they're both different models clearly, and we get a very clear representation of Fun Bun on a foreground over a blue sky background.
Trying to see if I can see the brand of that TV, because it does say what brand it is, but it doesn't say here though. I can't see it.
I think the black one next to it might be the Zenith, and that the other one is a knockoff Russian one. Maybe that's what they're going for.
Also, on the second one, it has like the colored bars that show up when like a TV station would not have anything to show you right now because they're having technical difficulties.
Yeah,
it's not what would be on that TV though. It would just be static, like snow, right? Because there's no input.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Or it'd be better if it was off.
Yeah.
Yeah, or off.
Yeah,
that's another option. Off.
Yeah. God, Digigekko, get your shit together.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that extra amount of work you put in doesn't really work.
How dare you? How fucking this person probably did so much work to make this like Photoshop of a little cartoon pixelated rabbit, and you're just shitting on him because he put the wrong screen on the TV next to it.
Yes, I am.
It's like, you son of a... As an artist, I'm insulted.
You should be. You should be.
I mean, I am.
But yes, the bunny's adorable, though.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree with your original statement. In the story itself, they should maybe have added green background to kind of make the like that a little bit clearer.
Yeah. I'm guessing that it's sort of like NES style, like looking at the rabbit, because he's not overly detailed like I would imagine a Super NES rabbit would be.
Yeah, honestly, he kind of reminds me of like the same kind of graphical detail from the original Pokemon. Like, kind of looks like the same kind of graphical detail, like pixel details that you'd get from like the trainers almost.
Yeah.
Like he could honestly like Fun Bun could pass as a Pokemon, as like a new Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And yeah, I think the story says in the 90s style graphics. So which is the SNES came out in 1990. So it might start off with this style graphics, but then go into SNES graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, it says the graphics get better, but that might just be the background.
Yeah, I think the backgrounds get more detailed, like the level. Like I have this all in my first in one of my actual thoughts. But the
bunny doesn't.
Yeah, but as the level goes on, like the graphics become more detailed. Like there's like cars or like abandoned cars and like fields, and then like by the end there's a full on like pixel art, like a masterpiece of a ruined Times Square.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, but the start one is like a freaking Atari background.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Which could just be representative of like it's just a big old empty field that he's in. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
That being said, like in a Super Nintendo game, if it was like a high budget game, they would be showing blades of grass moving and clouds and shit.
Yep.
But yes, it's meant to be this way, and that's fine. And thank you for showing me the picture. That helps.
You're welcome. Also, our critique aside of the picture, it is a very good picture. Whoever did it.
Yes, for sure. All right, then my next one is when they start the gameplay a little bit, and Fun Bun in Russian says, "Say hello to me, and we'll begin the adventure." We also got stuck here guessing names for months, like Rumpelstiltskin Challenge, Boris told me, after he translated the first bit of dialogue. We didn't even know it was looking for a name at first. Incomplete software is a pain. He told me what hello was in Russian, so offered to give me a try. He turned to the camera and said, jokingly, a word I'm not going to pronounce, Rabbit rabbit.
I actually went to a like how to pronounce that word. It's not what you expect. It's like fuck. I gotta try to remember how I said it. It's like hang on a second. I'm gonna pull it up for a second. This is super important.
It really isn't.
It is.
All right.
I just gotta find the words. Where the fuck is it? Can you? Oh, there it is. Okay, I found it. Yeah, it's Drestavoit.
No.
Yes, it is. Hang on, I'm gonna pull up the pronunciation thing again. Like I struggled with it because like there's way too many letters for how they say it. And that's not an insult to anybody. Like that's
No, of course not.
like we're just dumb. We're dumb Westerners. And give me a second. I'm gonna try and listen to this. Dress to it. That's what it's. Dress to it.
So half the letters you don't need. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm sure they're important to the Russian like pronunciation and stuff like that. Like I'm sure they're like they just use a lot more silent letters. But it's just like I was not expecting it to be Dretstuit.
No, not at all.
But yeah.
Regardless, though.
Also, I'm sure I'm butchering that. Just for anybody listening, I'm sure I butchered that. And if anybody would like to like attack us and chastise us online for that, by all means, go for it. I offer myself as tribute.
There you go. Either way, the whole reason I brought this up, when I was first reading this, I didn't understand what they were getting at until it got to the point where our hero said the line. I didn't understand what it meant by name. Like it wasn't very clear about that up until that point.
Okay. Like
also like when it says we also got stuck here, seemed kind of weird because he didn't list any like
other names,
hurdles. Yeah, and no, any other hurdles that he came across while trying to get the game to run. He's just like we also had a problem here, even though it was like the first problem that was listed, unless I missed the previous one.
I don't think you did. I think maybe like some of the other problems like were basically like the physical problems of like building a machine to make this work.
I guess that would kind of be factored in. But regardless, I'm just gonna say it again because we went off at a tangent and everything.
Sorry, I apologize.
It's fine. Fun Bun says, "Say hello to me and we'll begin the adventure." Okay, and then it basically says, "We got stuck here guessing names for months." But the question from Fun Bun is, "Say hello to me." So I imagine that all you had to say was just hello as the keyword. So then it starts going on talking about names. I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? And then when it gets to Hero actually saying that you have to say hello and then his name, that it clicked.
Maybe
because it took that while to click. I feel like it should be changed a little bit.
Maybe that, or like in Russian. Maybe in Russian, when you say hello to somebody, it's like part of the vernacular is that you say their name as well as the hello. Like as part of like the custom, or as part of the salutation, it's you say Dretstuit. I'm sorry.
I have to stop saying that word.
Yeah. you say hello in Russian, and then you say their name as well, like as an honorific.
Perhaps, but regardless, I didn't understand where the name was coming from until it was dropped. So my suggestion to change that is say hello to me and we'll begin the adventure, period. And then goes down to the next paragraph. We got stuck here, comma, asking us to say hello and then the rabbit's name. So he had us guessing names for months, like Rumpelstiltskin challenge.
Yeah, that would definitely help clear up the issue here.
Like we got stuck here. He is asking us to say hi and then his name. Like straight up tell the people that don't understand this game aka Tyler and Hero, as well as the readers.
Yeah. So did we cut you off when you were trying to like finish your sentence there?
I mean, a couple of times, but whatever. I got it across.
Future, you can edit out our like my cutout part.
It's fine. Long story short, I didn't understand until it was said, so I had to like. It was weird. Moving on.
You had to reconstruct it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And this one I stumbled over a little bit. I'm going to read it the way that I thought it said. And then you'll see why I was confused.
Okay.
I thought it said it wasn't even just memories and dreams. It was also memories and dreams. I revisited my favorite dreams from past and saw them ruined. So I read that. I'm like, what? Why'd they say the same thing twice? And then I went through and started correcting it. And I'm like, it wasn't even just the memories of life, comma. It was also the memories of dreams, period. And then I'm like, wait. I went back and reread it. I'm like, oh, there's a different word there. So what it should actually be is it wasn't even just memories and dreams. It was also memories of dreams. And that should be all caps.
All caps, maybe even bolded.
Underlined, but not italic.
No italics. Italics are dead to us.
They really are.
After Ickerfall 2021, italics are dead to us.
Yep.
Did you notice the italics in this one?
Nope.
No.
Italics aren't a thing. They don't exist.
Wait, hang on. What?
Because after all, italics fell last month.
Yes.
It was italics fall.
Italics fell this last. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, italics fall.
They're dead to me. Speaking of italics, though, literally my next one. I didn't actually put the quote down, but it doesn't matter because there's a. Oh no, this is the quote. I just didn't put quotes on it. Never mind. Then what would it take to purge that abomination from a person? ? So person is italic, and right next to a question mark, which isn't italic. But because of that, the N on person is like merged into the question mark, so it's almost like one character.
So it's like it's almost like Aether, like where A and E are the same thing.
Pretty much, yeah. Just like the way that the font is, they just mush together. So if that was noticed, I would recommend putting a space there, even though that's not grammatically correct. Put a space before
maybe just I see, yeah, and then when he references like Alice in Wonderland or Donnie Darko, those are italicized because they're titles. But honestly, I hate that.
They should be quoted.
Use quotes, please. Love God.
Would it be better if the question mark was italicized?
I think maybe might help.
Yes, it would. But I hate italics.
I understand. We all understand.
Yeah, it looks really weird. The N is like snuggling up a little bit too close to that question mark.
I'm scrolling down to it, trying to find it. So
just do a Control F for person question.
Oh, I found it. Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah, it's really getting in there in the hook of the question mark.
Yeah,
it's like never hook and cranny there.
Like a fish. The N is a fish.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's the end of my Grammar and Yellow.
Okay. All right, on to actual thoughts, where I'm going to be critically silly, I'm sure. Starting with my first one. So, jackpot. He told me in a sudden, long-winded email one night that I will heavily truncate for the rest of you. I know it goes on to explain a full email and a bunch of words and stuff like that pertaining details about what jackpot represents. Jackpot is just the title. However, for a hot second, I read that and understood it as the email read jackpot, just endlessly the letters jackpot, forming the entirety of the email. In my that's how I envisioned it.
What?
So it says jackpot. He told me in a sudden, long-winded email. It's just like it's just jackpot, but like expanded out to like with like all the A's and all the O's to make
Yeah.
it like one,
like-
just make it fill up an entire like paragraph worth of.
It's like 25 J's, 32 A's,
Exactly,
12
like
C's.
yeah, exactly. It was again one of those moments where like he fired, bang, a shot or a glance. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's that part. And then I'll move on to the next thing here. I didn't think much of it at first, but of course, the idea left an itch that lingered and grew, and I soon bought my plane tickets for a flight up there in November. My comment to that is like, and so the obsession returns for poor hero. He was out, but they pulled him back in. Just because of like how obsessive he got in like Kittyland and how it almost like wrecked him like mentally,
Mhm.
and he's falling into the same trap.
As a creepypasta protagonist, you expect him to learn from his mistakes.
I mean,
There'd be no stories.
It'd be refreshing because you can find new ways for them to be trapped, not of their own volition.
Yes.
Move on to the next thing here. So, you like scary stories the internet has to offer? He asked me. I still read them sometimes, I told him. And so begins my reading of every Boris line in a Russian accent. Seriously, as soon as Boris started talking, I fell into a Russian accent.
As you should have.
Including the entirety of night 50 and like on was all I was like actually reading it, like I read most of the story aloud.
Nice.
To myself, and I immediately started like reading it like Boris's lines in complete like just in Russian accent.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I envisioned him looking exactly like Boris Grachenko or whatever his name is from GoldenEye, like with the Hawaiian shirt and the glasses and everything.
Yeah,
'cause that's what his name is based on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I also imagined that.
Constantly clicking a pen as he's like flipping it around and shit.
Yeah. Also, I don't think I have this in my notes, but I gotta commend our hero for blindly trusting this complete stranger. And
he's like, come out to my house out on the outskirts of town,
of Buffalo, where there's not, you can't see my neighbor's house for the trees, and it's completely immaculate. Like he used to live there with his family, and then like he's now the only one there. So what happened to the family?
Murdered all of them.
And then like the I mean, even comments like I think as I went into the garage where I did not absolutely did not think that I was about to be murdered.
Yeah.
Like I gotta commend like the trust that our hero put in a complete stranger.
For something that he hasn't even seen at that point.
Yeah, and I'm also really happy that the subtle little suspicion in the back of my head that like Boris was going to hurt him or like murder or something like that, or was like not on the up and up. I'm glad that was completely invalidated. And like because Boris is a completely awesome dude. I just got to say, like he is the heart of this story to me. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to move right along. So that was all post night one. Like that was all my actual thoughts from post night one. Now we move on to night one.
Wait, post night one? You mean pre?
I mean pre night one. Damn it. Anyway, moving on. Then what's in contact with the hardware? Boris flipped the media over and opened the flap where the magnetic tape would usually be. Only here, it was a solid black glass of some kind. Whatever fed data into the readers did so through an opaque material. He laughed. If you think this weird, wait till you see what's on it. So, from where this is going and what is being described, bear in mind this comment is this note is being taken like as I'm reading the story. Most of my comments are like that. This tech, I'm inclined like the tech that it's presenting here with the cassette itself. I'm inclined to mythos it up a little bit. So this is a little bit of a kitchen segment for a game scenario where of some eldritch videotape that has been created using an obsidian shard as part of the mechanism and also a foci for harnessing the influence of the Father of Knives, one of the more recent avatars of Nyarlathotep. Where
Father
he's
of Knives.
Yeah, so the Father of Knives in Delta Green, in the Delta Green like scenarios and adventures and stuff by like Adam Scott Glancy, he's created this new avatar or this new like concept of Nyarlathotep being basically a man like the Father of Knives from like way back in like the prehistory times when like early humans, and this is real, early humans would quarry and chip out like pieces and chips of flint and obsidian from like quarries in like the Middle East, and they would use that as a form of currency, but it was also used as knives. Like they were also used as knives because of how sharp they were. So the avatar of Nyarlathotep here, the Father of Knives, is basically like an amalgam of just like flint pieces of knife, or like flint and obsidian like shards.
Yeah.
So and as soon as this came up where it was like a black glass or a piece of black glass of some kind, I immediately thought, I was like, well, what if it just has like a piece of obsidian in it that is just an aspect, like a fragment of the elder god Nyarlathotep, and it's being used in this like weird electronic medium ritual to give this videotape all its supernatural powers. It's actually not like technology; it's just like magic inside the tape. So that's my the mythos would make it better sort of little segment,
as always.
Yes. And then moving on to the next one. So a spooky game, but wait, it's also Russian and is played on outdated and strange hardware that for some reason is a system based off of VCR. Sure, why not? This story honestly brought to mind like as it was going on with like the whole like Russian video game sort of thing, I kind of started thinking about the Game Grumps ad campaign for that Russian jump game they came up with.
Oh yeah,
like where Aaron is like, "Oh yeah, I found this." What is it called?
Well, it was going to be. He said in the lore of it that they found it as an abandoned Dendy game, which is like a knockoff Romanian, I believe, NES.
Yeah,
and I think it's just called. It's just called Jump Game. It might actually just
I thought
be
it was
called that.
Russian Jump Game. I think, yeah. But yeah, that immediately came to mind because I mean I remember when that
Soviet Jump Game.
Soviet Jump Game, that's what it was. And yeah, like I just remember because like we both, like me and you, gamer, like both like talked about this game because it was like it kind of reminded me a little bit, like their ad campaign kind of reminded me of like this kind of a creepypasta-esque start because like they're finding this, they find this mysterious game and they decide to kind of like make it like kind of like bring it to the forefront and stuff like that. And then it turns out that the whole thing was just an ad campaign for a game that they were fiddling around with and stuff like that, and they're just having a lark with a sort of an ARG element to the ad campaign and stuff.
Or was it? Because at the end, like the KGB like captured him and tied him up, and were forcing him to like say that no, Game Grumps made it. Tell them.
Yes, yeah, clearly that was. Yeah, clearly there's a conspiracy at hand.
Yeah.
But you can see why I suddenly started thinking about that as reading this story about a Russian or Soviet video game that it was weird and stuff.
With an odd like backstory to it, yes.
Exactly, yeah. But I'm going to move on to this is another kind of kitchen segment bit. But I'm going to read this paragraph. The second level was a long road with abandoned cars, which felt like it had undertones of something darker. But the third level went back to nature and was a vertical scroller in which Boris guided Bun up a tree by picking the right branches. At one point, returning a lost egg to a nesting bird. Fourth level was an urban setting again, this time exploring an empty shopping plaza filled with product art and logos satirizing American culture. I found the back and forth shifting tone strange and wondered what this was all leading up to, as no human characters had appeared. The last level took place in a city park overgrown with pixelated trees, which eventually led to an area that looked a little like Times Square. The buildings were intact but covered in vines, and animals like deer and squirrels lived in the road turned meadow in peaceful coexistence. Okay, guys, hear me out. Kitchen segment here. Bunnies and burrows in a post-apocalyptic, post-human setting. Legitimately, what I thought of. It's just like, and I think we've all
what our Bunnies and Burrows game is.
Technically, on our sister podcast, One Less Die, during our Shadowrun game, we did run some bunnies. Sorry, Mikey. Some bunnies and burrows games. In the Powered by the Apocalypse version, the Warren, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And where you guys are all playing bunnies, in the remnants of a town that's been abandoned by mankind. And as far as you guys are aware, humans no longer exist.
Yeah.
So we kind of inadvertently played this game already.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, and the story does explain that it's like that when it says, last time I felt something similar was when I watched that old Peace on Earth cartoon from 1939.
Did you guys watch that?
Thank you for segueing. I don't believe I had seen this before last night, but I did sit down on Daily Motion and watch the 9-minute movie of Peace on Earth, and then went on YouTube and watched the 1955 remake, Goodwill to Men, which is basically the exact same movie, but I would say is probably not. I honestly think I preferred Peace on Earth more because the animation was a lot more detailed in the 1939 version than the 50s version. The 50s version just kind of updates the warfare that humans have in that movie or in that animated short, like because in 1939 that's pre-atomic bombs, so the humans just basically kill each other in the trenches to the last man. Whereas in the 55 version, it gets like they explain that the man just kept making bigger and bigger bombs until there was nothing left.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to watch that because it is kind of I can definitely get where our hero is getting with like how it's poetic, like this whole post-human civilization, but life goes on is sort of humbling. Like, yeah, that you kind of get that feeling from watching Peace on Earth or Goodwill to Men. And also I was amazed at the animation quality of Peace on Earth for a cartoon movie, a cartoon short from 1939. Like, just the visuals were so clear and like detailed. But that's my animation buff sort of kind of kicking in. That's not the show yet. But yeah, I'm glad I checked it out because I'm glad I'm pretty sure maybe I have seen it, but it was like when I was like 5 or 6, so I probably didn't even get half the stuff that was in it. But to watch it now, yeah, it's very much like I can understand also why it got a Nobel Peace Prize, the 1939 animation short.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it got it for its anti-war message.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, it was yeah. Thank you for the segue, Mikey, because that was what I was going to bring up next about after Bunnies and Burrows was
Nice.
Peace on Earth was a cool cartoon. You should check it out. You can check it out on dailymotion.com. I'm sure you can check it out elsewhere, probably on like Tubi or something. Point is, you can check it out for free. But I digress. I hate saying that word now. So here's the next thing. Actually, an early impression I had was that this could be the perfect iPad game. It's an hour long, creative, and could be made easy to pick up. And honestly, as reading that line in the story, I was like, I'm surprised this isn't like an itch.io game or something, like something on like the itch.io platform or on a mobile platform sort of game. I suppose if this story was a little bit more well known or popular, like somebody would inevitably make this game, like make an indie version of it or something. And I could definitely see it because it's definitely up there with some of those indie games that you see of like based off creepypastas where it's like it starts off cutesy and stuff like that and then goes horrible. Like there's actually a Steam game I have called Aversion that is basically exactly that kind of theme where like it starts off cutesy and like a cutesy little platformer, but as you go from level to level, the world starts kind of falling apart, and like the cutesiness starts kind of like fading, and like, or you realize you're kind of on like a stage, and behind the stage is like this horrible tentacular Cthulhu mythos like landscape hellscape.
Oh, nice.
And it's as you keep going through the levels. So like by the end boss, you're fighting this horrible eldritch abomination to save your princess, and then horrible shit happens. And speaking of that kind of tropes and stuff, the next line I have to comment on, but it was such a sweet little story. So what would a game over be like? It's if not just an oops, try again. Yeah, just like happy tree friends, happy little animals who make oopsies. What could possibly happen to them?
Did you look it up? I don't even remember the jingle from that.
It's burned into my brain, sir.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember our one friend? Like when he first saw it, he like his mouth dropped to the floor for like we thought he went into it. He had a stroke.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
He was so horrified when the first like when the first oopsie happens in Happy Tree Friends.
Yeah.
For those of you who are listening to us and do not know what Happy Tree Friends is, it's a colored up, cartoony, sort of Care Bear style animation, like flash animation, that gets dark very quickly.
Very
like
dark.
Yeah.
They always die.
Yeah, and they die in the most gruesome ways. Like I think there's Snappy, who's like a war vet, and as soon as like he hears like a crackle on like the campfire they're at, he just flips and goes on and just brutalizes everyone in the campsite because like he suddenly thinks he's in Nam.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Some of the kills and deaths. Yeah, it's not for little kids. It's deceptively not for little kids. But I will move on to my next thing here, which is Night 3. It's one thing reading about this stuff in scary stories, but seeing it and knowing people put time to program it all in, I'm almost surprised that pictures of my family being murdered or already in the form of gravestones didn't start appearing on screen. Nah, as sick as this crap was, it still had to exist within the realms of possibility. There were limits. There had to be limits. I like how this story kind of gives little pokes and nods at other creepypastas and creepypastas in general, specifically like Vigipastas. Like, I'm pretty sure what I just read, like about the parents being murdered and then like, or even on gravestones and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that's a reference to the Super Mario 64 creepypasta we read like a couple of years back. And I've noticed a few others in the story. I mean, aside from the obvious, like it just blatantly says like Candle Cove the video game.
Yeah.
Which Mikey so candidly did in his Conjunction Junction rundown. But there are other instances in the story where like the character pokes and nods or pokes fun of and then also makes nods to creepypasta. So like it definitely feels like this is the Cold Relics entry for like a video game creepypasta, but also like kind of giving a tribute to video game creepypastas in its writing. And then my next one here, but no one ever let the English one run for more than 3 hours. That was the record, because the electrical anomalies only get worse, and there was worry of fires starting or other permanent damage to a house's power system. No one knew why the game behaved like that or how it was interacting with the wires. So I have a little bit of a theory here on like on the purpose of this game. As I'm reading it again from this point, maybe the reason the electrical anomalies happen is it's a trap laid by the Soviets to harm American equipment, sort of like a petty insult of sorts, like. Since this was made during the Cold War, and some tensions were high to show each other up in any capacity, like between the Americans and the Russians. So it's just
Or
like
it's a freaking. Go ahead.
Okay, it's like, yeah, like, oh, sorry, filthy American dogs. Your pitiful entertainment systems and household electronic systems can't withstand good Soviet engineering.
Pretty much.
But yeah,
Or
you're
it's
gonna
like an actual response to what the Americans actually did during the Cold War, where they were actually making bullets, and I think it was during the Cold War, and they were shipping them overseas. So if it is the Russians I'm thinking of, it might be this might be during Vietnam. I don't remember, but either way, they were supplying ammunition to their enemies of the time, and so it's like a box full of ammo, but maybe like 10% of the rounds in there, it would be made to be faulty. So when they're shooting the gun, everything's fine. Then all of a sudden, the gun blows up in their hands.
oof, damn. Yeah, so basically that kind of like basically sabotage between the two countries.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I could see this because and I kind of bring this up later in my notes, but I guess I'll bring it up now since it's kind of relevant. See if I can find it. So like maybe the creator, yeah. So like it's talking about like later on it talks about like the rental stores and so if its creators wanted to sneak copies into rental stores, so unsuspecting parents might terrify kids across the country, they'd need to shrink their hardware and cram the innards and a built-in camera into popular name brand players, so the tape could actually be loaded. Who knows how they were planning to do all this? This all felt like only the beginning of one of those lost videotapes that messes you up stories. It just never got the chance to take off. So maybe the creators thought analog would take off a lot more than it did. Like perhaps they were anticipating that analog would just get better, and they didn't realize that digital would basically replace analog media. So they basically weaponized analog entertainment technology in this way. And heck, again, kind of going into my kitchen segment stuff, this honestly, like this game itself, and like the way it's analog and like it's super advanced analog technology, kind of reminds me of Tales from the Loop. But maybe so maybe this tape is, but maybe the reason why this tape is so like weird by today's standards isn't that it was like created in our reality, but like in an alternate reality, and it somehow made its way into our timeline. Like in that timeline where it came from, analog got really advanced, and this is like just like a weaponized version like what the Soviets created. But then again, that we've seen before, like that, like we're not quite sure if Kittyland is actually a memory like altering machine or if it's like a dimensional machine of some kind, where it like tackles into an alternate reality or an alternate timeline sort of thing. So perhaps.
What does it do?
Sorry.
What does it do? You said it tackles.
Tackles. Nevada. Tackles Nevada. Sorry. God damn it. That's just no. You know what? It's a cold relics thing apparently with us.
Is it?
Yeah, because you did that, Nevada and Alaska.
That was during those as well.
Yeah, that was during Liz 4.
Oh jeez.
That was the inception of our use of the
My bad.
Yeah. But yeah, like just the idea of like maybe this slipped in through from another timeline where analog got better, and so like and those VHS tapes, like those VHS like hardware that this thing is from or this thing is for, was more commonplace in that timeline. And again, I could certainly see this like tape, aside from like the mythos angle I proposed earlier, I could definitely see using this tape in a scenario in Tales from the Loops RPG. Like because
the normal source of media.
Well, yeah, in Tales from the Loop, like it's basically set in the 80s and 90s that didn't exist. Like it's set in the 80s and 90s where like technology advanced, but like the aesthetic remained. So like some of it's sort of like Fallout where like the 50s aesthetic survived, but like the technology advanced and just kind of like kept on going on with it in certain ways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in that case, like yeah, like they had like 80s technology that also had like super science behind it. So again, VHS tapes, analog sort of technology, sort of became like the next digital, like sort of became digital in a way, or just became much more advanced than it did in our timeline. But yeah, just again, kitchen segment bleeding again into my thoughts on this because it's what happens. It's one of my hobbies. It's gonna happen. But I'll move on to the next thing I have here, which is in night 5. So this one here. I didn't know if I didn't know if the wires were bunning sick again. I didn't care. As far as I knew, the garage was unpowered and the game was off. I thought maybe this was some form of the Tetris syndrome. I had played the game so much that it was hard to flush it out of my mind, and I was seeing it long after I had stopped playing. I could have that problem when I was younger, but this was so much worse. I think we got a problem. We got a grammar inquisition here. I could have seen that problem when I was younger, I think, is what it meant to say. So that's my first thing, I guess, on this on that quote. The secondly, this has to do kind of with an overarching thing I'm noticing in this story. So the buzzing. So this is sort of like the edge of my. Okay, I'll just explain my comment here. So, kind of going back to my what I just mentioned about like this being a Soviet ploy of some kind. Maybe it's just that he's sick, and hell, maybe his sickness, like the fever that he's getting, the headaches he's getting in the story, are the result of some underlying tone in the buzzing that is happening. After all, some sounds or tones we've discovered can be weaponized to make people uneasy and even ill. Certainly cause a lot of cause headaches and such.
Or make you poop your pants.
Yeah, exactly. There's the brown note.
If that's actually a thing.
Yeah, but there are actually like various tones that can I think the military has looked into weaponizing as like a form of riot control that basically like makes people like ill and queasy and like want to get the hell away from it. But aside from like his fever, like maybe the English version of this game creates a mimetic effect on the user, sort of like how it says like the Tetris syndrome, where it's just like it gets stuck in your head and like after prolonged periods of play. So it's basically like a psychological weapon that isn't present in the Russian version of the game. So again, like the whole situation of like, how dare you filthy Americans play our game? We'll make you want to play this in English? All right, the American dogs here. Have this fail-safe psychological trap. You've activated our trap card. Like the game is completely fine to play in its basic Russian.
Aside from the blood and
aside from like some of the more graphic parts, but I mean, I don't know, maybe they want their kids to grow up faster than us.
Maybe.
Maybe it's a way of desensitizing their youths, sort of like program.
No, this shit happens to animals out there.
Yeah.
You must learn.
You need to know this. Yes, if you want to, you need to hunt for your family. You need to know that that this is how animals die. All right, there, Sonia.
Stabbed through the knees with sewing needles.
Yeah, exactly. How dare you watch that Mickey Mouse bullshit? Here's a more
hardcore man's cartoon.
This is a pure manly Soviet cartoon. And then the Americans get a copy of this and it's in English, and that's where that's again the trap card where it either melts down your electrical systems in your house, or it imprints a psychological attack on the people that are playing it or watching it. So, because again, like Cold War had all sorts of weird stories about that kind of shit happening. Like not like there was talks of what the hell is it called? There's an island in the I think the ocean is gone now, but there's an inland sea that's been drying up since the Soviets dammed up like part of its water source. But there's a rebirth island where the Soviets were doing like medical experiments on like anthrax and like other diseases on it, And then they just left that island out in the middle of this ocean because it's an island out in the middle of the ocean, right? Like it's quarantined. Unfortunately, they also dammed up the water source of that inland sea. So that inland sea that island is now a peninsula onto the mainland.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and what's funny is it's also a bird sanctuary. So like, yeah, birds don't carry diseases.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, it was
Ruh-roh.
like it's definitely one of those things. Like what, like there's a military facility on that island, and there's like a bunch of rumors that like they were doing a bunch of like horrible medical experiments involving like diseases and plagues on the island, and then they just abandoned it out there in the middle of the that ocean. So
I'm sure that's not going to be a problem.
yeah, no, I mean now that it's become a part of the mainland, I'm sure it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely not where the zombie apocalypse starts. Just plague zombies.
Pretty much.
But yeah, moving on to night 6. He broadcasts himself through the wires. I know he does. He got properly turned off before I fell asleep at the fire, but I still sense him. I believe the effects of his radio waves linger for some time. Okay, let's get you to the hospital there, hero. Like, I know this is a creepypasta, and there are some elements of stories proposing that like this is going to be supernatural or like some kind of tech supernatural element and some of that. But I can't help but like between the fever that he gets, and he even like rationalizes where he got the fever was from a buffet they had earlier. And Hero's history of obsession and false memories, I don't want to think this for the story, but I think Hero just got super excited over a new weird like object and is starting to mentally fray with the fever throughout this story. Like, I started seeing this story very mundanely as it went on.
You
and
too,
it didn't help with the dreams, with the dream attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll continue with that here. I think. Let me double check because I have to go through the stuff that I already touched on. After insisting he consider what I was telling him, Boris relented some and said it might be possible that the game was transmitting data through the wires, similar to how power over Ethernet works, which uses the electrical system as a network line. But that didn't explain how it could send information through a plain old 20 or 240 volt plug, or how the data could mess with my head. Yeah, I'm with Boris on this. This seems a little bit far-fetched, given that there isn't a simple and straightforward like Occam's razor answer in this story that it is presented to us. The fever does weird shit to your perceptions. Like, I personally know that. Like, I've had some weird and bad trips while suffering the flu and suffering fevers. Like, I remember one Christmas I had the flu and I was just sitting in our living room, or I was sleeping on the couch in our living room, and I vividly saw everything from one side of the room to the other just go smashing into the opposite wall. Like like I saw the TV, the Christmas tree, my family, all the tables and all the couches and tables and stuff just get flung across like a hurricane, just swept everything to the one side of the room. And when I blinked, everything was fine again. So, and that's just a small taste of what a flu, of what your body fighting an infection can do. So, to your perspective of reality. So, like, yeah, the story really, as it went on, I kind of, it didn't ruin the story, but it definitely made it feel a lot more just like you're suffering from a very mundane and explainable case of you've got a fever and the only prescription is more cowbell. Sorry. Couldn't help myself. Strangely enough, that's not going to be my only Christopher Walken reference I'm going to bring up.
How dare you?
This guy is unfucking believable.
Right.
But yeah, Mikey, you wanted to say something?
Well, one note is that data can travel along electrical lines.
Yeah,
So
but
it's like
directly into his head.
that's true. Yeah, the
Like,
whole buzzing thing makes no sense.
yeah. Well, the buzzing kind of makes sense. Like he's hearing the buzzing of like the electrical wires, like they're vibrating. Right? Like that happens. Like
Yeah,
because I hear that because when I walk by like power lines, I hear a buzzing sound. So
Yep. yeah, but that's a strong electrical current versus
yeah.
what you would hear in a house, which
Well, if it's overheating or overclocking the power system, like you might hear that, and that's not a good sign. I imagine again. And then we get to this quote here, which filled me with such dread. At some point, whatever normal, pleasant dream I was having suffered a signal interruption. I seized up, not too unlike our old nemesis, sleep paralysis, and suddenly started dreaming lucidly, although my body wasn't very responsive and my eyes felt heavy. No! Sleep paralysis returns!
Or does it?
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I could see, like from like in a fever dream sort of situation, like he's got this like obsession over this Fun Bun. So the sleep paralysis demon takes the form of Fun Bun in his fever state. And then we get this line here.
Also, before you move on, though,
yes, continue. Yeah, sorry.
I said or does it because literally, like the next sentence, he just walks out of the room that he was in, so he's not exactly in sleep paralysis.
No, now
Maybe
he's
his
just dealing with night
body is.
terrors. Yeah. He's dealing with night terrors and sleepwalking, which, God, that is terrifying.
As far as I know, sleep paralysis is like in your dream you can't move and there's weird shit going on around you, right?
Yeah, you're in this state where like you're technically seeing the world around you, like your body, like you're slightly awake in that you are able to actually see your room, but you're still technically in REM sleep, so you're not actually awake. It's this weird state between sleeping and awake that you're conscious of the world around you, but you can't interact, and your mind starts adding in, like it's like augmented reality almost to a degree. That's where like the nightmare
starts. Not at all what's happening then.
No, it isn't. But like it's he does state like suddenly like I started dreaming lucidly, because dreaming lucidly means like you're kind of aware of things, but here his body isn't responsive and his eyes are heavy, which is what the feeling of sleep paralysis is that your body can't move. So you're in the dream, you can't move, and your body feels heavy and can't really move around and responsive. Yeah. But then he goes in to explain basically what he's kind of doing is also kind of like sleepwalking, which is also terrifying because you're basically moving around. Your body is being propelled by your dream state version. So, Mikey, we're going to bring anything up with that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
So the quote you had was, "At some point, whatever normal, pleasant dream I was having suffered a signal intrusion." So, to me, this actually points to the protagonist being an android.
My God. He was secretly an android this whole time.
What a revelation.
He's one of the byproducts of the Liz 4 system. Remember, like they made people into like thinking computers.
My God.
And he's related to and that was related to the Kittyland project, which maybe like Kittyland project. Maybe the reason why he was getting all these like false information and stuff like that was because he was he's actually secretly an android that thinks he's a person. And so he's been getting like he's been getting weird signals, and that's why he was able to see the Kittyland stuff. And now that he's gone to he's dealing with this Soviet tech, it's further interrupting his system.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this is all paving the way for the 2070s and 2080s.
Mm-hmm.
My dear God,
can't wait.
Androids everywhere. But is that it there, Mikey? It's like do androids sleep of or do androids dream of electronic sheep or of electric sheep? Or do they dream of electric rabbits? Did it?
I don't get
Also, is it just me? Does the electric rabbit sound like a dance move, like the electric slide? The electric rabbit just like a hop to the left,
kind
then a hop to the right.
In the story, they said that it sounded like a sex toy.
Yeah, well, yeah, apparently. No, Fun Bun sounded like a sex toy.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, right, yeah.
Which I have not Googled it. I don't want to Google Fun Bun and see if it's actually a sex toy.
Okay.
No, hand, stop. Okay, I'm moving on. So this one here, so we just talked about sleep paralysis. Well, next thing here, I knew I was in his domain. Maybe he was the one dreaming, with me as his hapless guest. I am the dreamer. You are the dream. And that was Christopher Walken as Whitley Strieber from Communion. I know I just talked about sleep paralysis, but and now that's a line from a movie about aliens. Fuck. I don't know why, but as soon as I read that line, it's like where like maybe he was the one dreaming and I was the hapless guest. Like I immediately thought of that scene from Communion where a version of Christopher Walken is talking to Christopher Walken, saying, "I am the dreamer. You are the dream."
Mm-hmm.
As he's dealing with basically like trying to like recall his alien abduction in the film. But yeah, so we got sleep paralysis, and maybe it's aliens. Maybe it's a Soviet alien retro build. I wish. Moving on. Okay. So this is my last. No, this is not my last one. So this is we're still in night 6 in this one. Sometimes I would run into a normal dream, only to have it immediately turn into a nightmare that corrupted its elements into twisted, gnarled horrors. Other times I would revisit memories, and those would fall victim into the shadows as well. It felt like the entity was spreading infection across my mind, one piece at a time. At a birthday party, all the kids were swallowed by darkness, and the restaurant was set ablaze. During a family game night, the playing pieces were turned into shrapnel and eviscerated my parents. You know, even though this is all a dream setup, like this is all just like a dream kind of thing, I do like the meta of this story of a video game character the player has tormented with all the different ways you can hurt and kill that character in the game. And then having that game character getting revenge on that player. Like, it's kind of like karma for being a sadistic player in a video game and like tormenting the character you're controlling in a game. Simply because it's just it's a bunch of ones and zeros and pixels.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also remembered, oh god, this also kind of reminds me of that Are You Afraid of the Dark episode called The Tale of the Renegade Virus. Does Mikey remember that? Does Mikey remember that one? Mikey? What?
Is anyone there?
Not ringing a bell.
Okay. Well, it's similar kind of thing. Like he's trying out this new game that one of his tech teachers at high school has made and prototyped. And it's like a VR system. And one of his friends who's like jealous that he has a girlfriend and he doesn't, puts a virus in the game, and it infects him directly in his mind. So he starts like dreaming this virus as it's trying to like basically take over his body and corrupt him. So just again, it brought up that again, something else it kind of reminded me of, like nothing's quite in a vacuum. Maybe there was some shred of inspiration from various things when the story was getting written. Or maybe it's just a happy coincidence. Who knows? And move on to night 50. Where to start? It's been 6 weeks. I don't want to make light of what happened, yet it feels disrespectful enough adding to this journal. So I might as well get out what's on my mind. If he saw the creature again, I don't think he would. So I read that without a Russian accent because I didn't realize it was Boris talking until a little bit later. We get some context clues that it's Boris that's been typing. I actually thought it might have been Tyler initially, because Tyler was the one that sent him up to told him about Boris and his video game and stuff, and nothing weird happened to him. And then when Hero goes up to see Boris, that's when Hero gets hurt and harmed. So
Was Tyler there with Hero when he went up there, or did he go
No,
by himself?
Tyler went up himself and talked and hung out with Boris for a little bit, and then he sent an email to our Hero, who then went up by himself without Tyler. So they both went up.
I was gonna say, because like Tyler doesn't really show up and do anything. It's because he's not there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like because it's referenced earlier, like he was there, but like because he was in the same room that Tyler had been in, and Boris had been a courteous enough guest to actually like clean up after Tyler. So, but yeah, it was just like I kind of wish we had gotten been a little bit clearer, a little bit more upfront that Boris was now typing the story and continuing these entries. It does bring it up a little bit earlier or like a little bit later, but I mean I don't know, just like nitpick maybe. I just feel it maybe should have been brought up as like, so this is Boris now. This is Boris now. Where to start? It's been 6 weeks. It keeps going.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah. One thing I will say positively about the formatting of this entire story, the night segments are adequately labeled. So like you know when it's a new night. Like
because it doesn't often talk about the days in between them. So if they weren't sectioned out like that, you would just think it's one long ass night.
Exactly. So, and then my last comment for night 50. I think what I got confused with like 55 and 50 was that like because the Goodwill to Men was made in 1955. So anyway, yeah, my last thing here. Though I never experienced the things he had, I started to really believe him that morning just by seeing him in that state. And I couldn't use his fever to explain it all away. Yes, you could. Totally. Like, everything. You should have brought him to a doctor.
I mean, he said that he should have, yeah.
He should have, but like he confesses here though at the last bit, like that he started believing what he was saying, and he couldn't use the fever as to explain all that had happened. It was like, no, you totally could have.
Yeah, because he doesn't see any of the weird shit that's happening.
Exactly. And it's just a weird Russian, again, like the Soviet Russian game is odd, but again, like he's not experiencing any of the stuff that our hero is experiencing from it.
Because he's Russian.
Because he's a healthy Russian versus a weak infirmed American American dog from Florida. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, no, by the end of the story, like I liked it, but it's all mundane to me. Like almost everything here was I mean, it makes a great psychological horror, but I can't in good conscience consider this a tech horror in the way that like it's some supernatural creature that's like a ghost in the machine sort of thing. Like it's they hammer down too much about the fever for me to like think anything else. But before I go too further into my final thoughts, that's the end of my actual thoughts on the story. Is just, yeah, no, it was a big, really bad fever trip for poor Hero, who's still comatose after 6 weeks. Jesus. But Mikey, D stands for evil. I give you the floor.
All right. My first actual thought here is that I had to look up Lego Morph.
Really?
I did too.
Okay, fair enough. Well, what is it for the audience? What is it?
Basically, just a rabbit.
Yeah. Basically.
Or it's like if you made a transformer of Legos.
No, that's Lego Morph, like Lego.
Yeah,
not Lago
it's a Lego that morphs.
It's Lago
right?
Morph. Lago.
Or if you make like a Power Rangers morpher device out of Lego, you'd be like, Lego Morph time!
Sure.
Cool.
All right. Anyway, continuing on.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of have night one and stuff in my notes, but at some point it falls apart, and some stuff might not actually be under the right heading. So we'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
All right. So when they introduced the VCR, I was totally hoping that this was going to be like Adventures in Dinosaur City.
Right?
Right.
Oh, dude, I've shown you Adventures in Dinosaur City. I have that VHS. We've watched it on the plasma TV.
Adventures.
It was like okay, I'll save you the time. It was a knockoff like movie that was made during the height of like the live action TMNT movies. It's about a group of kids who love dinosaur stuff, and they have this like TV show they love.
Yes.
It's like the Flintstones with like, but instead of like it's reversed Flintstones where like the dinosaurs are all anthropomorphic and awesome, and the
He's wearing, like, a
cavemen are all
hoodie.
minions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're wearing hoodies and
Yeah.
stuff. And it just so happens that one of the kids' like parents are like quantum mechanics scientists who have created like a teleporter machine in their garage, and so when they go off to a science fair to like show or like a science convention to show their findings and stuff to the greater community, the kids go down to the garage because that's where the big screen TV is to watch the newest episode of their Dinosaur City show. And what they inadvertently turn on the teleporter and create a portal to the video world.
Yeah.
And it becomes suddenly the cartoon becomes a live action dinosaur adventure with the kids kind of like lost in that world. It's surprisingly like in depth because like the kids have a question like a conversation about like, well, if this machine works, then we could go to any kind of like fictional universe. Like, is there like a whole multiverse of like fictional universes out there because of all the things that humans have created, like Dune, like the sands of Arrakis in Dune, or like, and it goes on like to some other like place like Lord of the Rings, like the worlds of Middle Earth, like, and like that's in the middle of the movie. It's like about this like, and he's talking to a giant like dinosaur man, like T-Rex man with a hoodie on, about like this kind of like existential like quandary.
They made a freaking Super Nintendo game on it.
Did they?
Yeah,
I
I
only
remember
knew about
seeing the cover art for it from like my old Game Pro games and shit, but I never knew it was connected to that.
I only
linked it
knew,
in the chat
man.
here.
Yeah, please. I only knew
everyone.
the VCR or the VHS movie. Oh my god!
Yeah, it's just called Dino City. I
Yeah.
think that's why I didn't think it was the same, because it's not called Adventures in Dino City. It's just Dino City.
The artwork is almost like is practically by the same artist, because like in the VHS I have, it's the kid like jumping up with this on a skateboard and like high fiving the same T-Rex in a leather jacket.
Yeah.
While his buddy, a Triceratops man, like is listening to some hot tunes on a Walkman. Oh man, that was wow. Thank you, Mikey, for bringing that nostalgia back up.
Yes.
Yes.
So my next actual thought is when they're talking about the VCR machine and what it can do and stuff. And the first thing that they say, or the board says, is that I can switch it between the two televisions. And I was like, that's it?
That's its special move.
We call it a two-way splitter.
Yeah.
And what got me later, because this happens in night 2, is that it took a few minutes for Boris to switch the wires around to the other American TV to set up a compatible camcorder.
Right, so it doesn't actually have like an auto switcher or nothing.
No, he has to go in and change. He has to go in and change it like manually. He doesn't have it. That's kind of weird that Boris would not have found like some kind of like splitter. You just had to like hit a switch to split between the.
That's like
two
Boris is a
TVs.
lion sack of shit.
Wow.
Maybe he's the villain all along.
No, I refuse. How dare you? That's it. I'm coming to your house tonight and fighting you.
Oh, are you? Over Boris?
Yeah. How dare you besmirch that man's name? His fake name. His fake fictional name.
Yeah, it's a cover name.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I found a couple screenshots for Dino City. It looks like you play as the dinosaur and your little human child is like in a backpack as you run around.
So it's it's that Yoshi's Island Mario game.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Oh my god, that's awesome. I kind of want to play this. It's on the Super
Yeah.
Nintendo? Okay. Audience at home, look up Dino City on the Super Nintendo to know what we're talking about.
Yes.
But we should give the floor back to Mikey. He's just been
Yes.
falling for 15 minutes.
So the next quote here is about the VHS tape. It
Mhm.
weighed about 3 pounds, a little heavier than a modern hard drive.
2014.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But a modern hard drive, even from 2014, weighs between 0.3 pounds and 1.6 pounds.
Damn.
And the quote is, it's heavier than it, right?
A little heavier, but it's like double at least.
A little
You might be
heavier.
exaggerating.
Yeah, exactly. Let the man exaggerate a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll fight both of you guys. No.
I was on your side, asshole.
No. Like I'll fight you for for besmirching Boris, and I'll fight Mikey for not letting him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So my next actual thought here is night 2. We had lunch out every day around town at his favorite restaurant.
God damn it.
What? It's the nighttime that you're having lunch every day?
So it does explain that like they most of their activities involving the game were during the night because that's what when Boris like was most like when he was most active. So I do understand where you're coming from, but it does explain like they're using the night like the nights as the like when like they do stuff, and then they're just explaining what they did before that they actually did stuff.
Yeah. Well, honestly, you could just change it from night to day because day is the entire day, whereas night is only night.
Okay, sure. Fair enough.
All right, that was easy.
Yeah, no, I honestly can't really fight you on that too much because it's like, yeah, you're kind of right, but damn it.
All right. And then do all the way to night 6.
Wow. Okay.
And whatever Fun Bun's game did to the wiring emptied the generator. It was on for 16 hours. Like,
It's not that hard.
yeah,
You just
it's
drained
not.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it just drained it. It didn't actually do anything to the wiring at that point.
Yeah, it was just you just left it on like a dipshit. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sort of got he got a little again, bear in mind Hero is typing this in sort of a fever dream like stupor. So like he's I'm not saying he's allowed some exaggerations as a result, but I mean he's kind of allowed. It makes sense anyway.
So my next actual thought here.
Mhm.
There was no explanation as to why the game was running, or how the switch I knew I flipped on my way out, well, unflipped. But then we also have, whenever a blizzard rolled in, he would turn on the garage's space heaters to keep his lab and all its valuable electronics from freezing, which could degrade certain equipment. Could they not be the same switch?
Yeah. Also, I know Boris also mentions this later about like how the power to his room, like he flipped the breaker on that and it flipped back. I don't know if this is like a common occurrence, but I have had experiences where like a breaker switch does flip on its own for some reason.
Well, usually it flips off.
Yeah.
But not back on.
I thought I think I've had it. I don't know. I'd have to like maybe talk to my dad because he's my dad. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah, you had that going there.
Because like he is an electrician, so he might have like I'll have to like confirm with him. But like I thought we've had a couple of times where like our breaker has flipped on when because of like a power surge.
well, normally they flip off
Okay.
if there's a power surge, they flip off so that they save things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it shouldn't be flipping on. If it's flipping on, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
Installed it backwards.
Damn it.
All right. So my next actual thought, Night 50. It's a compact, high-speed, polyphasic alternator attached to an amplifier capable of generating a weak radio signal. If that sounds like technobabble to you, then good. Yep, that is technobabble. It makes completely no sense. It's
Really?
it's like reversing the polarity of the neutron flow.
Yeah. It was definitely technobabble. Like I was reading this like,
Yeah.
yep, that's a lot of technobabble.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
You think
again,
that's
like it's
intentional?
Yeah.
sure.
It is.
Like,
but
he even like he does actually. I do give the story some credit. He does go on to say it's like if that sounds like technobabble, that's a good thing because I'm not telling you the actual specifics, so you can go and find it and make your own machine. So like it makes sense.
Sassy bastard. Why did he just say that from the get-go then? It's the
Because
worst thing I
he's
got.
awesome. How dare you again besmirch Boris's name?
Boris is a dick.
I will fight you, sir.
He is not invincible. It's a
I mean,
GoldenEye
not with that
reference.
attitude.
GoldenEye reference because
Yeah,
Boris
I
yells
know.
that. And,
Yeah, I'm invincible. Psh,
Yeah.
and he's frozen to death.
mm-hmm.
yeah.
That was such a good death.
Yeah. And then my next actual thought here is just a general one. So the technology seems too advanced for how old it is.
Yeah.
Especially the voice recognition from a Russian game that can speak perfect English.
Perfect broken English.
Again, this is sort of like the science fiction aspect of this game of this story is that it's like some kind of weird advanced analog tech. So
we're in the same world as the Kittyland robot thing and the laser tag laser guns that actually kill people.
Yeah.
That's also stuff that is out of its era.
Yeah, it's basically it's also the same thing as like they even say in the story that like there may be a connection of like the company who made the laser tag machines are the same that made this game. So like there's definitely like it's definitely some weird science, which I think is definitely like it's sort of uncanny, but it's also like it's not it's your suspension of disbelief can be moved a little bit because can be nudged a little bit because it's weird science. So
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
but when you compare it to voice recognition, more modern, like how many times did Gamer have to tell his Xbox One to stop listening to him because he said something with an X in it?
Yes, however, this doesn't use voice recognition as far as I know. But I'm pretty sure you hook up the camera and the camera looks at your face and reads your face and like the way that your mouth moves to do the to translate what that means. I don't think it actually uses the microphone. Because otherwise you could point it in any direction you want.
Yeah. I thought it's not actually picking up I think it's speculated in the story that it's not actually picking up like it's not actually registering the whole like face and stuff like that. It's seeing patterns in the face expression and also like keywords need to be in a sequence. So it's
but
a little
the keywords said that the keywords are being said to it, but it gets the keywords just based on how the face moves, not specifically on the auditory.
Oh, so you're saying that it's like That's
Entirely
it's almost like
reading.
it's lip reading. Yeah,
which
That's
is
how I viewed it. I might be
technically
wrong.
even harder than voice recognition.
yeah. I just
Yes,
thought,
it is
yeah.
100%. But I'm just saying, I believe that's the way I saw it.
I didn't see it that way. I didn't clue into that. I just thought it was like it needed the video component because the video camera also had audio component to it. So like that's like how it was getting the audio for it. And also because like again because there's some kind of weird sciencey bit to it where like the rabbit can actually use the camera as its eyes into the real world. But like
Yes,
on a more basic level, it's basic like it does mention that it's picking up words in a sequence that you say in a sentence. So like it's a little bit lower tech than you initially think, because when you realize it's just looking for certain kinds of words that it has in its data bank.
Yeah. But with the whole thing with the camera,
Yep.
the way I saw it is like if it's only needing the audio, then you just hook up a microphone.
That's true, yeah.
But it's
So
also
maybe
a
there-
compatibility thing. So
Yeah.
it might only be able to use a video camera.
Yeah.
Because of the technology.
But why would it be wired to use cameras if it doesn't use the camera and only uses the mic?
Because
That's my point.
it's Russian and it's recording you while you play.
Yeah. It's also, yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't.
I'll believe what I want to believe. You believe what you want to believe.
Yeah.
Either way, let's move on.
All right. Yeah, so when I was trying to visualize the game and the great detail that we see from a pixel game, basically, I had to visualize 90s graphics and 90s pixel gore. So I went with Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Because that's like the best example from 1993. So.
Yep.
I saw it like an NES game personally, like a standard ass platformer.
Just with little red pixels sprouting everywhere.
Pretty much, yeah. But maybe like a little bit. Well, I didn't think of a specific game to compare it to. You know, it looks like Dino City.
I was actually, I was literally like, because I'm staring at the screenshots that you posted in our Discord. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing as the graphics.
Yeah, Dino City. There you
Yeah.
go. Which is Super Nintendo, but whatever. That's the range I gave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's super high detail.
It is.
Yeah, man,
Those clouds.
Those obsidian shards.
Mhm.
Which is...
Yeah. And then my next note, which is sort of a side note, happy ending, and then multiple bad endings. I've actually which and things, and it pretty well every instance. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because at some points it's sort of comical, like what the character in the stories feels like. Oh, it's kind of funny seeing this rabbit die so many times.
Yeah, it's
you're
kind
having to do the exact same thing that Hero did to cause the wrath of the bunny.
Yeah,
like,
so you're gonna get the wrath
trying
of
to kill him every possible way.
So you're gonna get the wrath of those androids in Detroit Become Human in your dreams. Congrats, Mikey. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing that like people do with like I've seen like videos on YouTube of like the montages of deaths from Telltale games. Because Telltale games are all about like making the right choice or the wrong choice or the funny choice. Like the amount of like the Jurassic Park game specifically, like I've seen like ones where like it's like, what happens if you don't go right or then left? Then you get your head bitten by a T-Rex, or you fall through a between two storage containers as they are like coming at each other, and your head is the only thing. Your head like gets stuck as they get closer to each other, and your head gets squished as you dangle there.
Is there blood in that game?
There's no actual blood, but it's just like the characters just like get eaten and maimed in horrible ways.
The game that was coming to mind for me was what the fuck is it called? Oh my god, I just had it in my head. Dragon's Lair.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Multiple ways to die, one way to win.
Yeah. Where they film like hours worth of footage of Dirk the Daring dying, and then a little bit of footage of him succeeding.
Yeah, they animated like hours of content.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that's very much in the same vein, like that attitude of like, oh, let's see how this character dies, or it's like Super Meat Boy, where at the end of a level, you get to see all the different ways your character died as like multiple versions of your character like attempt to go through the level, and you see them all die in different at different points until like the one that you survived, or the one that you got to the very end survives, and like it's like starts off with a ton of Super Meat Boys, and then by the end it like peters out to one survivor.
That was like that game's whole thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was its whole
like just
shtick.
a replay feature, basically.
Yeah. Its whole shtick was it had very hard levels, and it showed you all the ways you died at the very end of once you actually beat the level, it showed you all the ways your character died and made it to the game, or made it to the end.
Anyway, that's the end of my actual thoughts.
Okay. Gamer.
Okay. Scroll up this huge ass list. Okay.
Oh god.
It's fine. So, the first quote I have is, I had long given up on finding anything else about Kittyland or the machine that implanted it into my head. So I don't fully recall the outcome of Kittyland. Like, yeah, there was a machine at the end, but it was something that created false memories for all of them? Is that what it is?
It seems that, like, we sort of, like, in our discussion, I remember us talking about, like, it, like, creating, like, a rift into an alternate reality. But it seems like in the story, it was actually, like, that he was seeing, like, visions, like, memories and stuff like that were, like, transplaced on his own vision. So he was, like, basically, and by the end, like, he woke up from, like, a coma, or from, like, a weeks-long coma, to find that everything he had experienced in the last couple of weeks didn't actually happen the way he thought it did. Like, he never went out to the Kittyland site with anybody but Tyler. So he never met.
It's weird because Tyler was the last person he met.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, he never met Jake or I think their names were Jake and they're at the beginning of the story because they're mentioning it.
Jack and Kate, maybe.
Yeah, Jack and Kate. Like he never actually met them in his investigation initially into Kittyland. It wasn't until after the events of the Kittyland story that he went and met them again and have been talking to them about like this weird thing, because they do remember some things, but they don't remember ever knowing him or ever like joining him in this investigation until he contacted them.
Yeah.
So
did we ever figure out why it put like messages basically in his head of those other people?
We still don't know. I'm still kind of the opinion that it was like an alternate reality machine rather than a false memory machine. Like he basically just got like phased into a new reality where he never had met Jack and Kate.
Yeah,
but
it really did seem that way.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
But I'll digress.
Mm-hmm. You shall.
Mm-hmm. And then this is kind of but honestly, this next quote is basically the same thing. Him saying, life has returned to dull normalcy. I kept up light contact with Jack and Kate, both of whom I hadn't met yet for real in person. I have wishy-washy memories of the previous one.
Much like the characters in this story.
Yeah, pretty much. I thought they were with him until he hit the device, but they were... like, it's up in the air if Jack and Kate were ever really there and all that shit. Yeah, okay. Yeah, those two kind of blend into one. Regardless. The next quote is, but he has intact merch. And it's not the killer laser guns, but it might be the next best thing. A video game. For me, it's like, shit, here we go again. As I'm walking down an alleyway in a white beater.
Thank you for that meme. I love that meme so much. Here we go. Oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for anybody who's doesn't know what that is, it's a San Andreas like GIF.
Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yes. Of the character like walking down an alley, just saying, "Oh shit, here we go again." And it became a meme in like 2019 or so, of people just like whenever something like happens, like you get pulled back into something, it's like, "Oh shit, here we go again."
Yes. So yeah, my quote there is just, or my note there rather is just, let's see how Cold Relics deals with the video game creepypasta, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's actually very adequate. Like this is basically their take on a video game creepypasta.
And my next one.
And it's I was just saying, and it's aware that it's doing that. That's one of the parts of the aspects I kind of like about it, is that it's also aware of that fact. So it's
So my next quote. Also, I just took another round of pills. I'm hopped up on medicine just to ward off the headaches and stay awake. So if I sound a little delusional or start rambling, be aware that I am currently on the ass end of a very nasty fever. Probably best to get that out there right away. If I mention my condition after the tale, I'll just wipe any assurance from that any of this is true, won't I? So the last time I brought up a video game creepypasta, it was last week with Revelry. And I said how them being on a drug high through the whole thing is kind of like a video game creepypasta where all the horror is in the game, not in real life. And this one is like leading with it mentioning a game and then immediately saying after that he's popping pills for headaches and fevers. So again, for all I know, all the weird shit that follows in this is in his imagination due to the sickness of pills.
Yeah, it's really hammered home that angle of this story. Like, I feel like it's almost too much. Like it's the fever is brought up way too much to like for it to really be anything other than just you had a really messed up fever trip.
Pretty much. And I wrote here, I hope that him having a fever and him being on some pills has some purpose, because as it is, it's just a pathway to break the creep. And it didn't really go anywhere with it, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, to a degree, like again, like you don't find it creepy or you're saying like you don't find it creepy when like dream aspects happen and stuff like that. But I mean, like the amount of work this person put into like describing the terror of the dream and stuff like that, I think is also like it falls into a psychological horror at that point because he's trapped within his own dreams.
It's not that it's not creepy; it's that it's
it loses its edge.
Pardon?
It loses its edge.
A little bit, I guess, but it's creepy, but it's in something that you only see in your own head, so like no one can really believe you 100%. Like at least it's actually affecting him here, and he can't just shut it off like what several Pokemon creepypastas do.
Yeah, that's true. And also to the story's credit, he does also say it's like he actually comments about that. It's like I know some of you like it's like you're reading the story, and it's hard for you to like get like really like creeped out or immersed by like what's going on and so that. But like when you're there, when you're experiencing this, it's a whole different thing, and it's hard to explain. Like he does actually kind of you could call it an excuse, but it's also kind of like it's true. Like it is harder. It's much harder for us because we're separated as a reader from the events that are happening to like what the character's experiencing. Yeah.
And this next line that he says himself, I know that reality and the world of dreams could blend together during a bad fever, but that doesn't stop things from getting worse. But that's my whole point exactly. It's all blending together, so what's real right now and what isn't, you know?
Yeah.
We'll never know. It's just like
it's open to interpretation.
They took a couple of things that take me out of stories in regards to either it being a non-video game story or a video game story. Like the video game story, it's like, okay, well, it's a video game, so they're not gonna... It's usually just in the game, and it doesn't actually affect them. This is technically just quote-unquote in the game because it's just in his head, but it does affect him. But all of that is kind of overlaid with this this cover of sickness where it could just be all that and not even the game at all.
Yeah, there's this like kind of overarching mundane rationale that is sort of carpeting the story. And it's like whether, because again, it does kind of lend itself to be like open to interpretation. Like, is it supernatural or was it all in his head? Even though it sort of hammers in that it's really all in his head because of the fever. Because have we talked about how much he's had a fever this entire story?
Yeah, pretty much. And my next quote is on the mention of the Legomorph, where he just says that damned rodent Legomorph, whatever, in between two different paragraphs, one talking about what he brought with him over to Boris's, and the next one saying that Boris is a pretty cool guy. That mention of the Legomorph out of nowhere is just like, why? I understand that he's writing this. Well, actually, is he writing this?
He's writing this on night. Yeah, he's actually been. There are context clues throughout the story that he started typing this on night 6.
Okay, so then he's just
night 6,
randomly getting anger showing up out of nowhere.
It does pop up. Yeah, it honestly it shows there, especially like near the end as well. Like he starts like kind of rambling, and then he kind of tries to get pulled back onto course. It just shows like his mental stability, like his mental degrading.
Like, I feel the Legomorph though.
It is a weird, it is a weird, a weird take. Like, because I mean, it's the Latin word for rabbit, but like, why? Why not just say
rabbit? He's been calling him a rabbit the whole time.
Maybe I think
Thanks for letting us learn words, but
yeah. Like I think maybe it's one of those things where like the author may have forced that like he doesn't want to say rabbit because it like he wants to like leave that for later, like when you learn more about the character and stuff like that he's gonna confront.
I hate to burst your bubble, but you want to look at the title of the story.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, exactly. So you might as well just say it's like that damn rodent, fucking rabbit. God, Mr. Bun Bun or Mr. Fun Bun. He couldn't say like that damn that damn rabbit, bunny, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, weird.
Yep. It is.
Moving on. I had to look up sardonic because I have not heard sardonic before, which means grimly mocking or cynical, apparently.
Yep.
And the example I have is I did not attend the funeral, but I sent a letter saying that I approved of it.
Yep.
Which is a quote from Mark Twain, apparently.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
Mark Twain was a weird guy.
Fair enough. Then we move on to night 1. Specifically, were you surprised I said so much before night 1?
I'm just like, I'm looking at our timer. It's like we're almost to the 3-hour mark here.
All right, I'll hurry up. So we move on to night 1, chapter mark. The chapter mark showing up at least. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, has this become 5 Nights with Boris or something?
Oh my god! God damn it! Yes,
there were 6 nights, I believe, and then something happened on the 7th night that we'll never see.
Yeah,
and Boris will never tell us because he's the villain.
Well, no, he can't because it happened. Because we never because in night 7, poor hero never woke up. So
because he did something.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're on this, I didn't have a note on this, but while we're here, how come Boris doesn't know shit about night 7?
No, okay, so it's not that he doesn't know shit. The thing is so at the end of night 6, what's his name? Hero. Wow. Hero was planning on was going back into the dream because he'd planned to basically take try and lead Fun Bun to the Kittyland memories because he hinted that he knew that there was something to do with that memory specifically that connected with Mr. Fun Bun. But then
yes, but he's doing all this stuff in the house that Boris is in. So wouldn't he know what he's planning?
No, he didn't. He didn't let Boris in on it. He just went to sleep but then never woke up. So he wasn't able to report what he did in the dream. All Boris knows is on the outside of this thing. He never woke up. His fever got even worse. He went to seizures. They had to get paramedics to bring him out, to bring him to a hospital, and he's been in a coma for 6 weeks since then. So Boris just Boris was on the outside of this. He's basically this was all internalized from Hero's point of view up until night 50, where we're now getting Boris is night 7 was bad. He never woke up. the fever got worse, like all that kind of stuff.
Well, here's my question.
Mhm.
Night 6 is when he went into his dream and he made him a little boy again. He chased him around, and then they found Kittyland, and then he woke up eventually, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So he woke up, and then he had, I'm assuming, a 7th day to plan what he's going to do. So
I guess
what
he never
happened
told
on the 7th day? Like, did he just
Well,
stay in his room the whole time and not talk to Boris?
Well, he's been writing this story.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's when he typed all this stuff up. Was after that dream.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
Okay.
in night 7, like I'm looking at like night 50, like the blurbs and stuff like that. Like I feel guilty, but we missed something. It was obvious. So night 7, there wasn't really a night 7. He didn't wake up after finishing the previous entry. I should have braved the snow and gotten him to a hospital after that morning, but we waited, and now he's in a coma. So basically, he got his fever got worse during the night 7, and like after he'd finished like writing down his notes for night 6, and then when he fell asleep, he went into a coma. He slipped into a coma.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So hence, yeah, like so it does kind of give you again. It's because like Boris was on the outside of this, and what there was like they do kind of explain what he was doing, but he was sort of on the outside of all what was going on with Hero.
I guess for some reason by this point I was thinking this as a narrator was just narrating what was going on.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, well, what happened on the last day? The last day was him typing all this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, so my next note is kind of just basically learning about the game system in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So he's talking about all this heavy-duty incendiary VHS cartridge stuff and all that.
Yeah.
And then, like, but at this point, it's just, hey, is that a VHS? Is that a VCR? And I'm thinking, like, I thought he came here to see something about a video game. But this VHS is called Rapid, though, so this has to be the reason, right? I'm putting this down in the moment, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I was confused why it was a VHS and all that. And then, but in the next line, it says that Boris lit a cigarette and brought the game to the table. So, which made me connect, okay, so the 3-pound VHS is the game cart, okay. So I guess it's like a beefed up Commodore 64 then, basically?
Yeah.
I believe, I never Googled this, but I thought I had enough video game knowledge to know. I believe the Commodore 64 basically used like Walkman-style cassette tapes.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it's the Commodore. I might be thinking of the Intellivision.
I think
it's not the Commodore.
The
Commodore is basically a PC.
Yeah.
Shit, what one am I thinking of?
I can see the Intellivision doing it.
Oh, yeah, it is Intellivision. I see a picture here that has like a keyboard and everything, and there's just like a cassette tape there.
Damn.
Yeah, there are some ancient consoles that used a cassette tape somehow.
Well, I mean, that makes sense because I mean, if you look at like the old computers, like the supercomputers that the military used, they were just rooms full of like of machines with celluloid or with tapes like running, like spools of tapes and stuff running. So and those were like old computer systems. So like it kind of makes sense that like a very early video game might use a cassette system. So
yep, and 100% it was the Commodore. Okay, good.
Neat. That is.
I think we have played a VHS game.
Okay, there's a difference. God damn it!
What are you talking about?
Experience Beige.
Experience Beige. I mean, there's also Rap Rat VHS that I've been hunting down on eBay.
We don't talk about that though.
Soon. But yeah, no, like honestly, like VHSs have been used before for like interactive parts of like board games. Mm-hmm. Like there's a whole genre in the 80s and 90s for that, or probably more the 90s. I don't think they're really for the 80s, but yeah, the 90s used VHS all the time for things like that. Like I don't have it anymore, but I used to have the. I remember our Gargoyles, the motion picture movie, like the one that started right before the TV series came out.
Mhm.
It came with a double cassette pack because one of the cassettes was the movie itself, and the other cassette was for the board game that came with the whole thing. And there was like a Gargoyles board game with a video cassette
Nice.
attachment.
Yeah, those video cassette board games are the best.
Yeah, they're really just they're a novelty, but they're fun too. It's like
they are.
You've been sentenced to the black hole.
Black. Yes. I remember what that one was from.
That's I think I saw that on a Spoonie experiment review of it.
I remember that from back in the day.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Anyway, yeah. So continuing with this.
Yeah. So I assumed it's like a beefed up Commodore 64, just like with this huge VHS thing that you plug in there, which is kind of neat. Then it mentions the specific brand of Russian camera that has to be hacked to work with it, which made me think, okay, well, so this is a beefed up Commodore 64 with a VHS style attachment, so you can play the VHS style carts in it, but also with like a working Xbox Kinect.
Right? It's like a Kinect before the Kinect.
Yeah.
It's like in Soviet Russia, we came up with the Kinect first. Just walked away.
It's called the Join.
Yeah. No, it's called the Union.
Yeah, there you go. That's cool.
Because, the Soviet Union, Kinect. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You didn't get that? Oh.
That's very sweet.
That's the Xbox Xbox Union is the Soviet knockoff for the Kinect. Oh, god damn it. I'm proud of myself for that one.
That was a good one. I'll give you that. That was very good.
Thank you, sir.
Wait, moving on. So we're looking at the video game, and Fun Bun's walking through an overgrown, people-less city. Didn't you and I just have a conversation about how in Warframe we assume that the rest of the Earth is abandoned and overgrown by nature?
We did, in fact, have that conversation.
Like yesterday?
Yeah, and it was about a creepypasta thing, too, I think. Like,
I don't remember
Yeah, we were talking about Ichor Falls. There's something about Ichor Falls and like the Earth the Earth being overrun by wilderness in
that wasn't
Warframe.
Triggered by this, was it?
I don't think so. I think what the hell? It might have been when I was editing one of the earlier episodes, but I can't remember which one it was. Oh no, it was Rusalka. Yeah, okay, so it was the Rusalka episode for Ichor Falls, and you mentioned that like apparently there's a Ureli,
yes,
Rusalka skin for the Ureli Warframe, and we kind of like had a conversation about like how like the Ichor Falls story of Rusalka is just in Warframe on like where Ichor Falls where North America would exist, because you never see North America on the planet view of Warframe, so we don't know what's there. So it might just be like a reclaimed like by nature sort of location.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But yeah, we absolutely did just have a conversation about like a post-human existence world in a video game.
It's crazy how many things are like coming together with this. Like we just talked about that, and then last week I just talked about like the drug-fueled haze, like not making it actually something that's happening. Yeah,
and then our Bunnies and Burrows games that were very similar to the same like the setup of this of this game.
Pretty much, yeah. Then my next note is just on that piece on Earth cartoon, which was actually pretty sweet.
I'm glad we all sit down and watch it after the story.
I know I did.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yep.
I felt like it's like I was last night. I was like I could maybe I should watch this. It's like no, if I don't watch this, I'm gonna regret it. And I'm glad I watched
2 minutes, anyways.
9 minutes actually.
Oh, I only watched a 2-minute video. I mean, it's the helmet houses though. That was adorable.
It was, yeah. Honestly, 9 minutes. It's like basically just an old squirrel tells his grandkids about how what men did, and they just like to fight all the time until they fought to the last person, and now there's no more men around. Yeah. And then all the woodland critters went to one of the devastated like ruins, which was a church, and there was a Bible open that was left there, and the owl read like some of the rules, like, hey, these are some really good rules. It's too bad those men didn't listen to these rules. Mm-hmm. Like, love thy neighbor, like you kill. Thou shalt not kill, love thy neighbor, and Yeah, all that kind of all that good stuff and whatnot. And then the animals decide to pick up that and start their own civilization out of the ruins of our own desolated world. So yeah, no, I can again after watching, I was like, yeah, I can understand why this got a Nobel Peace Prize, because this would have been very evocative back in 1939.
Yeah, I might have to go back and watch the whole 9-minute one now.
Check it out on. You'll have to check it out on. You can check it out on Daily Motion. That's where I found the full version. Yeah. I mean the 1950s version, like the 1955 one, is on YouTube in full. It's again another 9-minute video. So.
Yep. Either way, we'll move on from here.
Yeah. Okay.
So they run the game in English, and they're building up the hype that it's so different and all that, and then they're so different compared to the Russian one. And I call him Nair. But then that hero plays it for 2 hours, even though they just said they only do it for 30-minute increments just to be safe. And then just immediately lets it do for 2 hours. Which I suppose could mean he played for 30 minutes and then let it cool for 10, then played for 30. Maybe that's what he meant. But there's no real comments about anything different aside from the English dub and the death scream being more realistic.
So I think the big difference that they were hinting at was the fact that it requires more of a power thing, and it's actually trying to it's causing that weird electrical anomaly. I think that's the big difference between the two. But you're right; it does kind of insinuate that there's
afraid to play the game.
Well, yeah, because
he doesn't afraid to put it on.
Yeah, because they're worried about the electrical systems and stuff like that. I think
I guess just for his own house's sake.
Yeah, but I can understand where you're coming from on this. Where from that angle, if you misinterpreted that as being something different about the game itself, not the hardware requirements and such.
Yeah, it's just okay, the lights are flickering, but the game's the same.
Yeah.
But my note there is just there better be one hell of a payoff in the endings. All this extra interference and stuff. That's cool, but it's seeming wasted if it's just the same game.
And then it was the same game.
Well, did they even mention the endings in the English version? I don't think they did.
No, because it's the exact same.
Because they didn't mention them, but still.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. The game was the exact same. It's just in English, although broken in some cases, broken English. But the big difference and the reason why he was afraid and why the community is afraid is because of the weird, unexplained electronic anomalies that are happening.
Yep. And speaking of, Nair, him in his room with his laptop, noticing that there's artifacting on the side of his laptop, brings it closer and closer to the wall and touches it and everything. But he doesn't bring it up to Boris. Shit's weird. Why not ask the guy who lives there?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not consult him? Jesus Christ. And again, maybe it's because
he's been open with this stuff, trusting his friends with all this information and having them help him. But right now, he's just doing this all himself.
Yeah. It might be that he's, again, still in a fever dream state, so he's not thinking correctly. But yeah,
I reason to ask and see if he's actually seeing this or not, right?
Fair. Yes. But again, we're thinking with a non fever dream mind. People get irrational when they're sick. So
you say that, but he wrote down saying that I'm
aware.
Sick, so
but it's used as an. I'm saying it's used as an excuse in the story.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we start getting to the sick lines, where it's saying, I don't know if the wires were bunning sick again.
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, so is he quoting Fun Bun? Fun Bun's talking in his head and telling him when the wires are making that sound, that's them, quote unquote, bunning. It's not actually replacing any other word. It's saying what that anomaly is actually called to Fun Bun.
Maybe I think Mikey got it earlier when he said that this is these are typos that Hero left, and when Boris came back and reread the story, he added the 6 to kind of this is worse, this is weird, but why is it saying bun and fun? Maybe he's being infected by Fun Bun here.
Yeah, but he didn't correct any of the other typos that you guys found.
No, that's true. But I mean. And he also didn't catch the one fun typo. So yeah,
he's only human.
Mm-hmm.
So don't put the blame on him.
Yeah. How dare you besmirch? I'm just gonna rely
I
back
just
to
said
that.
I won't put the blame on
I-
him.
Yeah, I know.
Regardless, the next
But-
set says, and that bothered me. I could handle all of its other funds, which I saw that as I mentioned earlier, all the different types of fun. Fun
Yeah.
being the bunny rabbit.
Yeah, and
All
I
the
get that
different
now.
forms of him.
I remember having that in my notes, and I was like, "What is he talking about here?" But now that we've explained it, like it makes sense now to me what that was.
Then we get on to in the dream. I like how Fun Bun basically brought Nair down to his level, literally and mentally, by making him think he's a kid again.
Yeah,
And how in the retelling, Nair explains how, as readers, we should be trying to view this through the eyes of a child because that's how he saw it all.
yeah. It also is a cool like power that Fun Bun seems to have as a monster, in that he can turn off limiters and or he can turn off experiences that a character, a grown person has, to give them the experiences that they would have as a child in their own mind.
I thought you were talking about his power as being he can give himself admin rights in your
kind
dream.
of, yeah, admin rights into a human psyche. Like he's basically turning off, like he's taking off check marks of like adult rationale and adult experience, like maturity and experiences and stuff like that. Like he's removing, he's taking he's disabling those aspects of Hero's psyche, so that he suddenly now has the fears of and irrationalities of a child, so that he can have more fun with him that way.
In the dream, at least, yeah.
Yeah, in the dream.
What would be cool is if he did that, and then when he woke up, he was acting like a child.
Oof,
in
that
real
would've been
life.
So oof.
That being said, if that happened, he wouldn't have been able to write all this.
At that point, we would have had to have maybe Boris intervene into the typing a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And take some notes. It could be it would be a lot more visceral, because again, like you said earlier, this story does kind of take the dream aspect of the dream horror aspect a little bit farther than some video game pastas do.
Yeah.
That would be taking it to the next step even further, in that you literally your character is biologically or mentally changed as a result of a dream, because
he's
a dream character
back to that night when he was sleepwaping and he got scared.
Exactly.
That's his maturity level now.
Yeah, exactly. His brain has suddenly been augmented, or again, set to factory default kind of way.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It used a restore point from back then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And granted, he hasn't woken up yet, so that could be the case.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is the case, I'll be able to say, called it, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see if, because there are a few more Cold Relic stories we'll have to cover at some point, so.
We shall see.
Mm-hmm.
And then in regards to all this, the quote is, it was a living shadow. This is talking about the bunny chasing him. It was a living shadow, pure blackness that threatened to engulf me. I felt its malice pulsating as rhythmically as its unceasing pounding.
Dude, don't make this gross.
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Get your mind out of the gutter,
Yeah,
sir.
I'll walk out. I'll leave.
I know I have a very sexual voice, but
I was getting aroused.
I would hope so. But no, I kind of wish this writing at this point was using a simpler, childlike words too, because these wordy descriptions are how an adult might explain how he felt during these situations, instead of something like, it was like a shadow that was alive. It kept chasing me and wouldn't leave me alone. That's the kind of thought he would have as a kid in the dream. That's his feelings. It wouldn't be so wordy and flowery as what we got, in my opinion.
Fair.
Something simpler there would actually make it more complicated in a way, and more in depth, if you know what I mean.
It would be more immersive.
Yeah, more immersive, yeah.
Yeah. I get behind that.
Mm-hmm. Then we get on to all the Night 50 stuff with Boris.
Mm-hmm.
So Boris Strip says that Fun Bun was in Nair's laptop. Presumably when he held it to the wall, that made all the artifacting on it. He said that at the time of writing, it was a bad choice for him to do that. I should have put this specifically. He, as in
Hero.
Hero said at the time of writing, it was a bad choice for him to do that, like foreshadowing this exact thing, pretty much. But he says so at that time, which made me think, like, if he knew that Fun Bun was in his laptop, but like, if he did, then he wouldn't have left it on the whole time if he knew it for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Like us finding out about Fun Bun in the laptop happened night 50 plus.
Although I kind of suspected something was going to happen because he touched the laptop to the wall. It's like maybe that was some kind of form of connection, but
yes,
it wasn't until night 50 that I got like a kind of confirmation about that.
Yeah, but my point is, like, Boris found out about that, I'm assuming because Nair told him previously or something.
Well, no, because he read through the entire story. Like, he read up to the story up to this point. Like he says, like in the night 50 entry, he's read through everything that Hero has written up to that point.
Oh, so he's making an assumption that he's in there. He's
well,
talking like he knows, like, it's fact though.
Well, no, because so like he saw that he read through the story that Nair had presented up till night 50. Then he started investigating Nair's or Hero's laptop and found and like being considered, because like not going into anything too personal. But then he found a file that was weird and he can't open. And that's he suspects he's not 100%, but he suspects that is in fact Fun Bun on the laptop.
So I think my problem with this, or rather the reason I had a problem, was because I wasn't thinking of the whole story being written post night 6.
Yeah.
So when stuff was coming up and like on night 5 he says like, I don't understand. Well, it's because he didn't understand until later.
Exactly.
So it's probably mostly my fault on this part here.
And it's fine. I mean, it's
one more thing. What if it's not Fun Bun on the computer, but our protagonist, and Fun Bun is in the protagonist's body?
He was corrupting him one by one piece at a time. What if that 125 megabyte or 128 megabyte like file?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. What if that file on the computer is that 20 megabyte file is all that remains of Hero's psyche?
Damn.
Not much of that left.
Yeah.
Only 20 megabytes. Jesus.
Not very smart. He doesn't have very many memories to save there.
Well, most of them were taken away or corrupted. So.
No, that's true. Yeah. Either way, image at the end, it's cool, and I suppose that's the setup that Boris has. It's cool to see and all that, but I kind of wish it was shown on night 1, like Nair sketched it out for the record or something.
Yeah.
Because I basically had the exact same visual. I didn't think that the VCR was underneath the table, but I basically had the same sort of visual, but it would have been nice to actually have it.
Fair.
And then the image at the start, I kind of wish the big one had no ears, since that one has such a big impact.
Yeah.
Because the little tiny one, I'm assuming, is the one from the Dream. That's like a 3D model one or whatever. Hence why he's all colored in and everything.
Yeah, and then like next to him is the small child version of poor Hero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is during the Dream, and those were the two big things that bothered him: the little tiny one and the earless one. Mm-hmm. Then my next one is with all the buildup that Boris. I kind of touched on this a little bit. All the buildup that Boris gave Nair about Hero, about how strange the game gets. Both of the escalations weren't very impressive, at least at face value. Like Russian mode, clean run, nothing bad happens. Russian mode, about to do the other runs, and Boris like wanted to wait till tomorrow, but doing the other runs, it was just kind of gross a little bit, but not really bad. Like there's nothing so life changing that he couldn't have done it that night. He made it seem like it was a huge deal.
Yeah, fair.
And then English mode, like he shows all the ways that Bun dies, He's saying like, if you want to see some real fucked up shit about to happen, wait until we do English mode, and then it's just the lights get flickered a bit. You know,
Yeah, it is kind of
like, it would use. You know what I expected? Because there's a goddamn camera, it would actually put your face in the game at some point, or something like that, or like use audio that you've been saying during the gameplay in some aspect, but it didn't really go that way. So I was expecting some sort of connection between the two worlds in the English mode, but it was just no.
Yeah, it's just
granted, the actual escalation was Fun Bun being downloaded into Hero's mind, but
that came later.
Yeah.
Or I think maybe it's possible that Boris was just being overly cautious about a lot of stuff. Like that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Like,
granted, like, yeah, he just met this guy.
And this is crazy.
Yeah.
Damn it. Oh, that never gets old.
No, it won't.
Also, yeah, like the fact that like Boris has his own fucking Faraday cage, like
he's a pretty smart guy.
He's a cool guy.
He's a smart fellow, and he's felt smart. But yes, my last one is just how Fun Bun's acknowledgement of Kittyland doesn't really go anywhere, but mainly because we don't know what happened. I am assuming shit happened in that dream, and we don't know about it because he hasn't woken up from that dream yet.
Exactly. I am curious because the next story is called Signal Intercept. So I'm curious as to what that means in regards to like, because it is this story. Like the character set, like the character of Fun Bun does acknowledge like Kittyland in a way that like seems almost like he's familiar with it and even afraid of it. So like we're getting a tease maybe as to like something that comes next. And I like how this
and just plugs into the side of Hero's head because Hero's clearly a robot.
Yeah, clearly,
and then he can just see what's going on in there.
Yeah, exactly. And I do like how this story also like connects to the other stories that we've read so far in the Cold Relic series. Like they're now more than just a cobbled together collection of stories. They actually have some things coming to a head as the further
they were all
read.
mentioned in this one, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, I think Laser Tag had the least connections to it. It's just like, hey, remember Laser Tag?
Not at all. Laser Tag. They literally at the end, Boris speculates that Laser Tag, the company that made the Laser Tag weapons, is the same company that made this video game. So
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, it has probably the most direct connection.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. I thought it was just like, hey, remember Laser Tag? Anyways.
Yeah.
But no, I remember.
Yeah.
But that is the end for my notes.
Okay. So finally, we'll go to final thoughts. Man, this is like, we're running like just over 3 hours. So with my final thoughts, I like this story. What is given to us here, like as a plot and the item of focus, the commentary regarding like creepypastas and video game creepypastas that we get, at least as far as I was reading into it, is really fun. Like I really enjoyed a lot of that stuff in it. The major problem I discovered while reading through the story is the supposed supernatural, super science sort of horror aspect of the story can easily be rationalized as just the fever that he got from a buffet on like day 3 or day 4. So it's sort of like the fever aspect of this whole thing sort of like overshadows any kind of element of supernatural or super science that's going on with this device, with this game. So
yeah, like if he didn't have a fever at all, I would be way more into it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like if he was, if they were just like stuck in like the blizzard at Boris's house and such. Like I think it was done to kind of give us that kind of like grounding of like, this could be real because it could all be in his head, but that also kind of ruins the aspect of the story being a creepy Cold War relic of some kind, like prototype weapon of some kind, because it's all in his head. I'll still recommend it because to me, like it was a bit of a long read. Like I kind of got a little bit like, I'll admit I got it got a little slow by like during like the dream sequence stuff and all that. Despite that it was kind of a good psychological horror that was described there. but it did kind of pick up by the end when Boris started talking about like the techno jargon and like the history of the game and stuff. Like I kind of got interested again with the mystery surrounding this game cartridge. So for the most part, like despite the things that the misgivings that we've given the story, I still found it to be a good read to me. So I will recommend it on those merits. But yeah, the only kind of issue with the story is like it's a psychological horror kind of blended with a little bit of a techno horror from like a Cold War sort of relic, but it started feeling a little too mundane in certain parts and certain aspects because of the fever angle. So that's my recommendations and final thoughts. So Mikey, these stands for evil.
All right. My final thoughts is the technology wasn't weird enough. It didn't mesh well with the potential supernatural elements going on because we have a fever, which is the most mundane thing ever for the for the results we get. Right, it could all just be in his head.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I'm going to give it a partial recommendation because it was sort of interesting to see where it went, even though we don't know how it truly ended.
That's horror sometimes, buddy.
Yeah.
Anticlimax. Half of Lovecraft's stories were anticlimaxes, where he just fainted and woke up in a hospital with a popsicle stick in his mouth. All right. And Gamer, send us off on this.
So there's something I forgot to ask.
Uh-oh.
In regards to origin's the wrong word, but the origin of Fun Bun. Is he basically an AI? Like he learns and everything, isn't he? Like,
I think it's sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, what is he?
I think it's insinuating that he's some kind of either a ghost in the machine, like some kind of like digital spirit, like a sprite from, to quote Shadowrun. Sorry, Mikey. Like the kind of like digital spirits that technomancers use. Mm-hmm. So like sort of like a new spirit, like almost like a digital life form of some kind.
And he's connected to the cassette.
Yeah, like maybe that black obsidian or that black glass is like literally like a supernatural element to it. Like that's the supernatural element. It's like literally a shard of some kind of thing. Or it is kind of insinuating that like this is sort of like an AI that like a seed AI that like the more like because it was left on for like multiple times, like for a long period of time, so it had enough time to develop and learn and then like break out of its bonds because it was activated in the English version. I do in quotes when really the English version is actually the version of the game that the version of the hardware that like kind of breaks the shackles of the AI and allows it to be more freely like
taken off. Limiters are taken off on that version.
Exactly, yeah. And again, like you an AI learns from what it gets input wise. So like if you beat a dog enough times, it's gonna go feral on you, or it's gonna seek revenge. So like you harm and injure this character in this game when it's a learning AI kind of like construct, it's just gonna learn to hate you and resent you.
Yeah.
So,
or the other option is it's all in his head, and he's just
exactly. Yeah, going back to the unfortunate, it's not so much unfortunate, just like the mundane route is like it's all in his head, and like it's the fever talking basically.
Yeah.
So the story I think definitely leans a little bit heavy on the one side, but it ultimately does kind of leave it to open to interpretation as to what exactly Fun Bun is.
And but on to my actual final thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I'm gonna say I liked it. There were a few hurdles that I had to hop over. It gave me flashbacks to Bun Drowned, but in a much more hostile takeover sort of way.
Yeah, I can see that.
And for what it's worth, it's an engaging story that describes the scenes quite well. Mm-hmm. The horror scenes are subtle and not overdone with blatant visceral horror. Like they didn't need to wrap it in, I think the tech is pretty cool, especially the huge Commodore 64 with some strange, like a bunny material that carries the code through the cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Fun Bun and Nair are left off. Like they might be Warren if he'll get control of his body back or not. And it does leave me wondering what will happen to him. Like, will he ever be able to like wake up and be like free of this little monster or not?
Yep. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
overall, recommend it. Like, there's some ups and downs, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, there was a mention of Hiro's sister, but like, did we ever meet Herbivore?
Yes. In Kittyland, we it actually was part of the focal point of Kittyland because he was dealing with his dad's suicide, and his sister was the only family he had left, and so like and basically like it was him and his sister after his dad died at the end like during Kittyland.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it did bring up like again the story kind of brings up characters and events and stuff from the previous story, so it's kind of just keeps building off of the building on to the mythos of the Cold Relic series.
Gotcha.
They just keep going down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Add another bun to the pile.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that's it.
Yep. Overall, recommend it.
Okay. But yeah, so overall, 2.5 for the most part, I guess, out of 3 recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought I'd be annoyed that it stopped instead of ended in a way because we don't know what happened, but it's left me intrigued enough that I want to know what happened.
Yeah.
To continue.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where we go on to the next. What's the next artifact that we find, and how does it connect with the investigation into all this Cold Relic stuff? So
the next one won't have Hero as the main character. It's got to be someone else.
I think you're right. It does say on the site like as the author, like maybe this will be Tyler now. Let me just pull up.
You'd be like, shit, what have I done?
Oh shit, it's Kate. Signal Intercept is Kate, and then we have the 6th story is the Liminal Warehouse, and it's Boris, and he's and it takes outside a small Ukrainian village. Ooh. And then a hospital visitor, and it's our hero in story 7, and then the last story on story number 8, Nowhere Train. The author is not saying.
Ooh.
Dun, dun. I gotta say, like these Cold Relic stories, they're long reads, but they have been pretty good. Like all in all, like they've been pretty compelling in terms of their like high concept creepiness. So
yes, they have been.
But yeah, we'll have to tune in next time. I'll take a look to see when we'll do the next one. But if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. We're all on Twitter. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W because his name is very long.
Yeah.
And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldentebrigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, spooky things, SCPs, cryptids. Send them our way, and we'll take a look at them and discuss them for the show. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to our Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And for our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you guys immensely, because without your listenership, it would be like screaming into the void, the endless comatose void of our own minds. And without your authorship, without these stories that you write and put out there on the internet for people to read and enjoy and talk about, we really wouldn't have much of a show because literally we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you.
Yeah, our friendship revolves around speaking about creepypastas and nothing else.
Yes, clearly. No, it's a good time to like just get together, read a creepy story, and talk about it for 3 hours or more.
Yeah, it's usually a 3-hour tour, but that's fine.
A 3-hour tour.
I pretty much always learn shit every time, though, so it's
Yeah.
great.
And it's definitely been a good help for during this pandemic. So
Yeah.
of like staying in touch. So, but
Mhm.
I digress. I did it.
You've digressed in the freaking outro? I don't
Yes,
remember
I
you doing that
have.
before.
Oh my god. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the bun in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Lagomorphous. Sleep well.